across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good afternoon to you. Just gone 4 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. We're on with Drive, on the home of free speech and common sense. And a big thank you as ever to the Housewife's Choice, Mr. Ian Collins, back tomorrow afternoon between 1 and 4. He's rushed off now to see my wife. So I caused a bit of a stir yesterday. Apparently I upset... There's a thing called X. I don't know too much about it. That's my phone. I'll put that on silent because it starts to bleep. I basically decided to have a go. We didn't decide to have a go. I was just being honest about Gary Neville, and the story doesn't go away. If you weren't aware of this story, this is a man who was walking from his gated community house the other day in Manchester, a man who's represented his country 85 times, was a very successful footballer, not very good as a manager, who's now a successful football pundit and a businessman who's made 900 million quid. He apparently took exception to, well, he said that our country was divisive and it was being divided by angry middle-aged white men putting up their flags. This flag debate will not go away. Starmer, months ago, it's been taken by the far right. Can I just say, I didn't say it yesterday, sure there are people on the far right and the far left that do and say things that are not relevant, acceptable or correct. But it's also fair enough to say, whether you fought in a war or represented your country or, I don't know, why the hell shouldn't we be proud? Why do the Scots, the Irish and the Welsh, they're able to fly their flag and be proud about it? We're not. Oh, that'll upset people. Why would Gary Neville tell his workers, tear down that Union Jack, it's divisive? Well, he's facing fury from his own middle-class, balding, white, racist workmen who are building his big hotel building complex in Manchester because they're saying it's not fair. Apparently he got on the radio to one of the workers and started asking why the Union flag was up there, and he mentioned the Union flag, not the other two. I don't know what the other two flags were, probably other foreign countries. Ridiculous. I mean, I met somebody today, world-famous footballer, that's all I'm going to say, right? Very successful. And he said to me, what an idiot, even if you think that. Well, it worries me if you think that, but why would you say it? Here's an interesting analogy as well, Ron. I wonder what David Beckham thinks. David Beckham, of course, he spent years crusading to try and get a knighthood, which is now happening. I wonder what he thinks of his best mate, you know, Starmer's crony. Was he put up to it by Starmer? Because blatantly Gary Neville ain't got a brain cell in his head. And I am proud to announce, and I'll probably get in trouble for this, that there is a reason. There's a joke going around saying that he's going to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. It's like the Ballon d'Or, but it's Ballon d'Or. I'll let you make up the yourself. 0344, you see what I did there, Ryan? Ballon d'Or. 0344 499 1000 Solopay. Is that right? Solopay. Anyway, she's back. Jodie's not here. She's doing a brilliant job answering calls. You can also send us a voice note as ever. 0344 499 1000 and text to 87222. I hope that all of Gary Neville's middle class white, bald-headed, racist workers down tools and tell him that they have every right to fly the Union Jack. Saw some stuff online overnight as well, like people coming out, Karens, angry people. Get your flag down, you're being divisive. Why is it divisive? Answer me this, please. Why is it divisive to fly the Union Jack or the Cross of St George? Why is it only us? Why have we become apologists for what's right and wrong? While I'm on it, obviously today, 2 years ago, I was on air, the horror of October the 7th. And everybody knows my position on this. And I thought Ian summed it up perfectly. This isn't a time to talk about, you know, what Israel has done or the problems in Gaza. It's to talk about the horrors that befell that nation after everything that they've been through. And 2 years ago, a systematic terrorist attack by a terrorist cell backed by the mad mullahs of Tehran devastated lives and extraordinary scenes, awful scenes. And you know, when I woke up today, I don't know, have we got a video of this vile woman who should be arrested? I see a woman basically cutting down yellow ribbons, right? These were put on a fence in London to commemorate, we'll also talk about the numbers of hostages that were due to be freed. Nadia Yolam, who lives in North London, used scissors to brazenly snip the memorial bands that the Jewish community had tied to railings in honour. You're watching it there, and look at her. I mean, just explain to me how that low-life... A&1, right? A&1 Nadia Yalom, right? Whether or not you are pro-Palestinian, Do you think that that's acceptable? People's relatives, they might not even be alive, have been kept hostage by Hamas, a terrorist organisation, and you think it's a good idea to walk around cutting that down? And I'm sorry if I feel like I'm going to start. I think it is totally disrespectful. I think it is utterly grotesque. And when we go on about hate crimes and we go on about Lucy Connolly, and she got, what, 3 years for some hurty words, why the bloody hell isn't that woman being dragged off that fence right now by Starmer's militia, because they're nowhere to be seen, and brought to justice straight away? That is so abhorrent. Almost worse, or on a par with apparently pro-Palestinian students chanting "River from the Sea" at university campuses on the day of those October the 7th attacks. Around 100 people joined the demonstration outside the Students' Union building at Sheffield University, shouting "Palestine will be free. There's only one solution: revolution, revolution. An occupation is a crime. Get your hands off Palestine." So forget the fact that the Jewish state had... It's just the most horrific thing happened to it 2 years ago. Separate that to what you see in Gaza, and somebody just put online, which I thought is really salient. Why is the Palestinian cause not calling out this scum woman that thinks it's all right to cut those things down? That is an absolute outrage. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. We might also talk about the Tory party conference where, surprise, surprise, Robert Jenrick stood up and did a speech. He's bit to the right, really, and he got lots of cheers. On the day also, do you know what Operation Rolling Thunder is? Today, Reform, the day Kemi did another speech, lots of councillors decided to defect from the Tories to Reform in a sort of systematic move, which rather sums up what's going on. So whatever you want to talk about, the Tory... didn't like it yesterday, the bloke, did I? When I said, did you all go in a minibus? There's only 11 people there. Jenrick at the Tory party conference will follow that up. We'll talk about Gary Neville, if you want to. Face Fury. If you work... Am I allowed to say if you work for him? Down tools, and I'll get into trouble. And pro-Palestinian students. I'd stop their grants and throw them out of universities. But unfortunately, our universities are also impregnated with the left, who tell my daughter, she was telling me the other day, that the British Army caused every war. That's what we're dealing with, peeps. We're on the charge again, 0344 499 1000. Bobby says, Jez, I wonder if Gary Neville's going to get Roy Keane to fight his battles with Simon Jordan like he did against Patrick Vieira. Can't wait until the fans start chanting when he's spotted. Interesting. Jez, I wonder if Robert Jenrick is now effectively seen as Reform's de facto prince over the water. Lots of talk yesterday about Tories want Badenoch out. Is there going to be a pact? There'll be no pact. That's my opinion. There'll be no pact. But Reform, it's three years plus out. So lots and lots to talk about this afternoon. Let's get to it. Where was he yesterday? Busy, apparently. He's here today. Former government special advisor, James Price. Good afternoon, my friend. Oh!
Hello, my friend. I'm glad to hear you've had your Weetabix today.
Oh, look, there you are. There you are. That's obviously very important at the Tory party conference. And I asked yesterday whether you'd all gone on a minibus, because there's only about 11 people there, aren't there?
Well, I'm sure that without having to look over my shoulder, you can see there are loads of people here. What's that old line that rumours of the demise of the Conservative Party have been greatly exaggerated? It's a bit quieter today than it was yesterday, but the seats have been full for. The interesting bit is full for all of the kind of think tank events, all the talks, all the policy discussions, all of that kind of stuff. That might seem a little bit dry, but if you come to a conference like this, what do you do in the daytime? You listen to people talking about policy, and then you go and get absolutely clarted at the bar afterwards.
Well, not you, sir, because I've never seen you. The only time I've ever seen you look so smart was when you were in court. Let's talk, if we can, about the I mean, I
was going to use that line.
Yeah, done. Kemi Badenoch yesterday, doing her best to rally the troops, was on the round this morning when Operation Rolling Thunder from Reform took place, and 20 Tory councillors decided to defect. You'd have to say, even as a Tory as you are, she's up against it, man. She's just... She's not... I've nothing against her, really, apart from the fact that she spent 15 months trying to work out what to say. It's just there's no momentum. It seems to me almost every day Farage is well ahead. I mean, he's on the front foot, and you're playing catch-up the whole time, aren't you?
Yeah, that's definitely true when it comes, I think, to the level of attention and interest and press scrutiny and all of those things. And I think it's pretty much been guaranteed that there's been a tactically or a strategically poor choice for her to go quiet after winning the leadership contest back in November and to wait her time. I think that was foolish, but I think now, hopefully, we'll start to see a kind of catch-up, because there have been so many different policy announcements coming out. The Tories, OK, belatedly, after Reform, saying to leave the ECHR ECHR, but it comes out with a 200-page document full of incredibly detailed and insightful points of, oh, what about this? Well, we've got that covered. What about this thing about Northern Ireland? That's okay. What about precedent? Well, it's happened a lot already. And not just on the ECHR, on energy policy. There was a great speech yesterday. That Rob Jenrick's speech, which I'm sure we'll come on to today, was an absolute barnstormer. And some of the private conversations that I've had with the kind of egghead policy wonks have been really encouraging as well. So whether or not the party gets a chance to enact any of that is a totally different story. But the fact is that the right, as broadly defined in Britain, is making all the kind of intellectual running.
Yep.
All the exciting ideas are coming out, probably going to get nicked, a lot of them, by reform. Well, if that's the nature of the beast to save the country, that's what it will be. But it does seem clear that the Conservative Party, having had a long time in power, not doing too many radical things and being a bit scared of ideas, the opposite is absolutely true now.
It's interesting also as well, yesterday when we were on air, there was a poll that said that half of Tory members want Bad knock out, which is interesting because, of course, they voted for against the man who, as you say, Robert Jenrick, he set out at activist judges, he set out a lot in terms of justice today, but also a vision. And many people on the right of the Tory party are now saying, God, this is the man, this is the orator, this is the guy that could have led us to perhaps a better renewal than we're going through right now. Problem is, in my age-old concern, or my age-old comments about the Tory party, they've missed a trick, because even if you turn to Jenrick now, because she ain't going to last another year, everybody will say you're just playing catch-up to Nigel Farage again. You missed a trick, didn't you? Like the Labour Party missed a trick with David Miliband all those years ago. Jenrick should have been... I mean, it would have been really interesting if Jenrick had been elected the leader against Farage, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that have been the answer?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's very unfair on Rob Jenrick, who's clearly a first-class operator, to compare him to David Miliband. Goodness me. I know what you're saying, that Miliband would have been an improvement on Gordon Brown, yes, or on his little brother Ed, and goodness me, but I know what you're saying. But I think that what you want to have is a team of super talented people. It's what Donald Trump managed to do for his second election, the kind of Avengers of having Elon Musk and all those other kind of people out and around him, and showing that you've got a team, which is going to be Farage's big challenge. Because at the moment, he's a great guy, I like him a lot, he takes a lot of common sense. He drinks still quite a bit, he definitely smokes, and you worry that if something happens to him, then the whole reform movement falters. Whereas I think what the Conservative Party is showing, and I know I sound like a damn politician at the moment, but I have seen some evidence of it here. Yep. You've got hungry people full of ideas, and not just ideas, but kind of working at how it would actually work. And I've said to you for a long time that I think in a way the best outcome would be some kind of coalition on the right where you've got all the kind of radical zeal and the excitement, and bear in mind I said zeal, not Zia, all the radical excitement that the Reform Party are currently mustering, and the kind of scars on our back of the Conservative Party in government. And it's reminding me, do you think it's going to work?
Do you think it's going to work with the people? And we'll move on in just a tick. This is really important because whenever anybody from the Tory party stands up and speaks, and you're a commentator, you're not a Tory politician, I get messages by the bucket load saying they still don't realise what they've done wrong. They're still naive enough to believe that they are going to be the next government. There are plenty of people who take offence to the comment that, there isn't any meat on the bone with Farage, he's going to come unstuck. I was speaking to somebody at lunchtime who said that, but also acknowledged something that I've said for months, which is, I think the British people who get rightly offended by idiots like Gary Neville, we'll get on to that, are sick to death of two parties, in, out, pro, anti-pro, round and round in circles. And even when you say to these people, but, Farage heads a party that's got no political experience, no experience of government, a lot of people just look at you and go, yeah, and could it be any damn worse than it has been for the last few years? And that's why I think right now, and it might not be in 3 years and numbers, that's why I think the Reform are leading the chase, because people are sick to death of what they see as lies, people not keeping their promises, and they're like, do you know what, why don't we just try that? Where can we possibly go wrong,
Yeah, I know, I take that point, but I suppose one of the things I've learned from a decade or more working in Westminster, not entirely the whole time, I should say, I've had some real jobs, but for a long time in there, things can always get worse. Yep. And I think that the attitude that you've so eloquently described is exactly what Americans were thinking back in 2016, and they got definitely a breath of fresh air with Donald Trump. But Trump came in, and I heard his son speak recently, saying, look, we had no, then he said a swear word, we had no clue what we were doing, and we're kind of making it up as we went along. And I think that showed on the outside. There were some great wins that the Trump administration had, and there was a lot of things that felt fairly calamitous. And I don't think that Britain has got time to go through that cycle. I don't think, our version of Joe Biden, should that come along after a first reform term, will be some completely evil, nutter, commie socialist, and that, we may not get another chance to fix things again on the right in the late 2030s.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Let's talk very quickly, because I want your take on the two main news stories. I mean, honest to God, this Neville thing that I threw out there yesterday, he is today facing fury from his own builders after slamming angry white middle-aged bald men, saying that they're the ones raising flags that are causing all the division in our society. This pillock, right, didn't think it was wrong to be walking down a Manchester street, and he went, oh, terrible things happened to the Jewish community. There was a pro-Palestinian march 3 hours later. They don't deride that. There's a woman today, have you seen this dreadful bloody footage, cutting down, right, cutting down ribbons laid out to respect the numbers of hostages, the Israeli hostages still captured by that terrorist monster group Hamas, and she thinks that's all right. Lucy Connolly gets jailed, and that woman is still walking. How does that happen? What does the Tory party think of that, JP? It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. And I think that one of the benefits of being here is I've not had to pay too much attention to Gary Neville, which is not something I ever try and do too much. But these people live in a complete and utter bubble, don't they? And I think things are starting to collapse to such an extent that these people will realise that whether it's the trans issue, whether it's the anti-Semitism stuff, all these kind of things that become very fashionable, and people don't really know what they're talking about, but it becomes like a fashion, right? Like your jeans get skinnier, your jeans get looser, hair gets long, hair gets short. They kind of think it's like that. And things have got so real now because so many people are fed up that the tide is changing. You look at Emma Watson, who used to be so pro-trans until J.K. Rowling gave her the biggest slap of her life recently, which is excellent. I think that reality is coming back. And look, I've not necessarily been Kemi Badenoch's biggest fan in some ways, but she's definitely been very clear on all of these kinds of moral issues. Some would call it woke stuff. I think it's much more serious than that, because it does, as I think you're getting at, represent a kind of moral rot that we've got. And there's been a lot of solidarity here for the people, Jewish people in this country, for all these other kind of issues where rich idiots like Gary Neville think that they can just burnish themselves and get invited to fancy dinner parties by putting these people down.
And it's like
and I think, by the way, the criticism that Rob Jenrick's had this week, it's bouncing off people now, right? These sorts of slurs don't work anymore because people know whose side they really want to be on. Let's just
explain to people, he was caught saying that he didn't see any white people in Birmingham, is that right? He's defended remarks he made in March about the Handsworth area of Birmingham, which he called it one of the worst integrated places he'd ever been to. In a recording reportedly made during a dinner and published today by The Guardian, surprise, surprise, Jenrick said he had not seen another white face in the hour and a half he spent in Handsworth filming a video about litter. Does that make him racist?
Yeah, well, I've been told by someone Well, I've been told by someone in that area, in the know on this, who's looked it up, that area is apparently 2% white. And so, no, I don't think that anyone's skin colour matters, or it should matter. I think the only reason that people think that it does is it's a sort of cipher for the rapid scale and speed of demographic change, which means, in this country's context, the speed of immigration. If you've got somewhere that was 50 years ago 100% white and now it's a tiny percentage of that, well, that means that lots of people have come along. And have we built the infrastructure for those people? Are we sure that they have integrated into culture?
No, because we can't afford to build the infrastructure.
And Rob Jenrick is not the bad guy for saying it.
No, but in my mind, no, he's not. But you missed a trick. Can I also ask you quickly, my friend? Pro-Palestinian students chanting from the river to the sea back at their universities, sticking out for Palestine. On the day, October the 7th, we should be remembering the heinous crime committed against the Israelis by Hamas, a terrorist organisation, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, funded by the mad mullahs of Tehran. These students, I'd round them up as well. They do my bloody head in. Where were they during their holidays? Oh, yeah, they were on holiday with Mummy and Daddy in Mallorca, and then they come back. How disrespectful. And at what point we have this whole debate about free speech, but you can't put your flag up because that's divisive, but you can stand in a university, slag off the Jewish community and get away with it. You can't raise your flag, but you can go and cut down ribbons about Israeli hostages. It's so bad the way it is, and it's so blatantly, I think, unfair, and I keep saying it and people look at me like I've landed from Mars. I'm not bothered about the M25, I'm not bothered about your conference. If you go north, right, and you speak to working class people, they are peed off to the back teeth with what they see as their lives being trashed by anybody and everybody that doesn't follow the rules or learn the language or work a job or pay tax. And it's not racist to say that, it's honest, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. And you know, you hear that from people of all colours and creeds, as long as you want to integrate into this country. You know that my old boss in government, the man whose prime ministerial leadership campaign I ran, was born in Baghdad, and he fled that country because Saddam Hussein wanted to kill him and all the other Kurds there. And that's someone in the form of my old boss Nadim who has integrated, other than supporting Man United, as much as it's possible for someone to do. And that should not matter what your colour is, what your race is, your sex, your height, your weight, any of that kind of stuff. I think we're perfectly capable of judging these people on the content of their character, and if the content of their character leads for them to chanting stupid, ghastly nonsense like "from the river to the sea," when they probably don't know which river and which sea, by the way, those are terrible people. And actually, a little bit of credit, just a tiny bit, to Shabana Mahmood, who's the Home Secretary, who said this stuff was un-British. And I do think there should be some moves that we shouldn't have to suffer this kind of stuff every Saturday.
Completely.
And the kind of hate marches, because I think we've started to see on the streets around Manchester what happens when this stuff gets normalised.
But you're basically saying again to
you're
saying to the indigenous population, you can't raise a flag because that's far right, but it's all right for Palestine marches, hate marches, calling for the death of Jews to take place. It's completely wrong. My usual 4 questions, JP, looking very smart in your suit. Mike Graham's arrived at HQ. How are you? I know you're going to do something else. Come back later. Come and see me. It'd be lovely to see you. Very quickly, does Kemi Badenoch lead the Tories into the next election, yay or nay?
I can't look into the future like that. I'm sure that the right is going to win the election in whatever way, shape or form it takes, and I'm sure it'll be full of talented people.
Does Keir Starmer lead the Labour Party into the next election?
No, definitely not.
No. Does Nigel
God, he may even be gone by Christmas.
Does Farage get the keys to number 10 at the next election, JP? Oh, look at the face.
I just don't see it. Like, I wouldn't, you know, I think he's great. I think he's very sound. I think he's a lot more economically right-wing than the Reform Party is currently allowing him to be. I think he's great. But at the moment, if he does, what are their policies on education and on health and on all these kind of things? If we're lucky, it'll be all the stuff that's been discussed here that Reform will be nicking. But I just can't see it happening. And it's not because I don't like him. I think he's great, as I say. But I just think that there's so many other answers, so many other questions that need answering.
Really good to have you on. By the way, whilst you've been on, there have been no more Tory councillors have defected to Reform, so that's the result. Say hello to the 11 people there. We love you. James Price, former government special advisor, live and exclusive from Manchester. It's fallen out me already. Right, if you want to be on, 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. Solopay will take your calls. You can text 87222. We'll get you on. Loads to cram in on drive time. The home of free speech and common sense is to talk.
Yeah, well, I don't resile from those comments at all, and obviously it was The Guardian who stuck them out there.
Of course.
We want to live in a country which is well integrated, where people are living side by side. We don't want segregated pockets of our towns and cities. We don't want ghettos in this country. I want my kids to be growing up alongside their fellow Brits of all skin colours and faiths. And I'm afraid that hasn't happened in recent years. This is a problem that's got worse in my lifetime, not better.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 4:28, with Talk Drive, the home of free speech and common sense. JK till 7. Listen, I want to hear from you. If you know this whole flag thing, right? I don't know who this man is. I won't give his name. If the Union flag is divisive, I have to ask, is it still flying over Big Ben in London and every other government building in Whitehall? I guess it is. Have you got experience? You see this stuff online where these sort of vegetarians, as I call them, haven't had a wash for a while, come out and say, take that flag down, it's divisive. Have you tried to erect a flag? Have you come across somebody trying to take it down? Have you been met with derision because you dared to want to be patriotic? I'd love to hear from you. 0344 419 1000. Jez, you're well past middle-aged. You can't cause division despite your spat on X, says Matt in Sunderland. I don't do X, they do it for me, but yeah, that's good. Doug, so are the country that it's most divisive, the Prime Minister runs off to India? Yes, you're right. A member of BRICS, saying country that refuses to take back its failed asylum seekers, a country that buys its energy, yes, from Russia, who's at war with Europe, helping fund its military. What are we not being told? You're being told that our Prime Minister, or you're not being told our Prime Minister, Doug, hasn't got the balls to deal with the stuff that's going on in this country because he's fighting a losing battle and is too busy trying to be all things to all people. Hello to Simon. The Tories are finished. Labour are beyond awful. Reform is the only way forward. Jason in Pompey, Portsmouth. Good afternoon, Jez. Now, there are plenty of lifelong Tory voters like me who tore up their Tory membership and joined Reform after Boris the Liberal blew it with lies and broken promises. We will not forget, whilst they locked us away and kept us from our loved ones, that they were partying in number 10. I joined Reform in 2022 before Nigel was leader, and even if the Tories resurrected Thatcher, I will never vote for them again. Peace be upon you to all our Jewish friends and neighbours on this important day. Thank you. And Billy from Devon. I thought we lived in a democratic country. How can Starmer declare Palestine a state and give away the Chagos Islands without any debate in Parliament? Well, Billy in Devon, he's got a majority. And apparently he can do whatever he damn well wants, but only for 3 more years and 9 months. That's a bloody long time. Let's go to Blackpool. Oh, apparently everybody in Blackpool's a Labour supporter. Is that right or wrong, Howard? Wrong.
They might be if they're living in Blackpool, but I'm down the coast at Lytham St Anne's.
Ah, so, the posh place. The British Open's been there many times. Great golf course. And shall I tell you, Lytham St Anne's most famous resident was?
Me.
Les Dawson, you cheeky git. There we go. What you got for me?
Well, I'm proud to raise my Union flag every morning, along with my Cross of St George. And so far, I've had no comeback of a negative fashion from anybody. In fact, the local council who came round to look at a sign which some kids had vandalised across the road from me, I asked the lady from the planning office, and she said, you're perfectly entitled to raise your flag. So I'm proud to raise it. I call it a Union flag. It only becomes a Union Jack when it's flown at sea, just to let you know.
Ooh. But, were you a sailor?
I'm not this weekend, no, but...
Hey-ho. Answer me this on a genuinely true thing, because you said you take them down at night so they won't be stolen. What is the big debate? Why do we live in a country that is seemingly not able to be proud of itself? I said earlier, the Scots, the Irish, the Welsh, everybody flies a flag. Apparently, we have become so apologetic that many councils, Labour-led ones, that's a fact, are saying we shouldn't be doing it. It's divisive. Gary Neville yesterday saying, I want it taken down on my building works. It's a divisive flag. Why do people like Gary Neville think that that's divisive, but it's OK to fly a Palestinian flag or a pride flag? All of that should be flown, but why the bloody hell are we so apologetic about our own flag? I just don't get it. I never have.
I don't think most people are, Jeremy. It's
right.
Just these negative people are the ones who get the publicity and that kind of thing. And I don't refer to it. There is nowhere called Palestine. You cannot identify it on a map anywhere. So that's the problem. It's called Gaza, and that's what it's going to be at the moment, unless things change.
But even that, right? That's another debate. How a woman today, on the worst day for the Jewish community since the Holocaust 2 years ago, can be seen cutting the ribbons put up to commemorate hostages still held, maybe not alive, but still held, maybe alive, we don't know. And she just gets a smack on the wrist. Lucy Connolly writes something about, I don't know, immigrants and gets put in prison for 3 years. There's no balance in this country anymore, and we just seem to constantly have to dance to everybody else's tune. That's how it feels.
Imagine last week, Jeremy, what would have happened if 2 Muslim men had been murdered outside a mosque? Can you imagine what would have happened on the streets of this country? There would have been thousands of Islamists out at the end of the day, they'll all come together and that kind of thing. And that would have been, streets would have been burning by now. Now, I'm not saying we should be having streets burning or anything, but the authorities have to stamp down on what's going on. But as I say, cutting ribbons and all that sort of thing, absolutely disgraceful. But I think the majority of the British people are with the Jewish people, will help people within reason. But at the end of the day, we can't keep trying to mix oil and water.
Completely agree with you. Great to have you on. Howard in Blackpool. Well, Lytham from Nans, 27 minutes to 5 o'clock, 0344 499 1000 for Talk Drive. We say a very good afternoon. Another person at the Tory Party conference, one of the 11 there, I'm joking, Stuart Andrew, Shadow Health Secretary. Stuart, a very good afternoon to you, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. Enthusiasm yesterday, enthusiasm today, big smile on your face. Is it I'm not. I want to know. That's the point of having you on. Is it demoralising to think that you're all there in Manchester, and yet every single poll says that your party has not, cannot and will not be forgiven for 14 years of failure in terms of the way the British public saw it last time? Today we had Operation Rolling Thunder from Reform. Whilst your leader was doing the rounds this morning, 20 Tory councillors were defecting to Reform. And I know Jenrick stood up and he's talked about activist judges, and he's talked about, he claimed judges with links to pro-migrant charities had undermined public trust, and he pledged that if you win the next election, he would reverse Blair-era changes that restricted ministerial involvement in judicial appointments. Stuart, I don't mean to put you on the rack, my friend, but the people that are listening and watching here would want me to ask you one question. Why the bloody hell didn't you deal with this in the 14 years you had in power?
Well, look, first of all, I completely accept that we have got a big piece of work to do on rebuilding trust, and that is exactly what we are doing. Not everything we did in 14 years was a big mistake, but there were things that we should have dealt with properly, and we didn't. So what we're doing here is we are going through really detailed policy work, because rather than just giving a headline, I think this is one of the things that really frustrated me, not just about us, but at previous governments before and what we're seeing now, is big policy announcements being made but no idea how to implement them.
Yep.
And that's why taking a different approach and thinking about the question, what are the solutions, but backing it up with really strong evidence and how you're going to implement it. That's going to be the key. And I think that is what will, when the time comes, set us apart from the others.
So, you see, and I take that. I understand that criticism of Farage, which can also be levelled at Sunak. And I mean, I remember Sunak saying, we're going to raise GDP, we're going to spend 2.5% on defence, but that was during the election campaign. It was all, I agree with you, that's been, in the last few years, it seems to be symptomatic of politicians that throw stuff out there. But my point is to you, whether this is well meant or not, your leader has spent 15 months reviewing the debacle that was the general election, and in that time, Stuart, whether it's Nigel Farage or the Greens, it's not the Labour Party, it is Nigel Farage, he's absolutely stolen a march. And isn't now the fact that when your leader stands up and says we're going to leave the ECHR, we've done the detail, we've got the document, when your leader stands up and says we're going to do something about the judges and the migrant left-wing lawyers, and we've got the detail, everybody will say, yeah, that's great, and you might have the detail, but Nigel said that 6 months ago. That's your problem as a party. To me, you've got you've got to somehow convince the British people that this time, if you were given a chance, you would actually do what you said you're going to do. And the other one is that it doesn't feel that proactive. It might to you, but to to many, I think, of the voters, they've heard nothing for 15 months. And I've had many Tories admit to me that they like the way she's changed it, but she should have been quicker out of the starting blocks because you've lost ground to your rivals. Well, to reform.
There's still a long way to go yet, though, before the next election. And I want to be able to stand in front of you and say to you in the election that the policies we're announcing have been backed up by evidence and we have a plan to implement them. I've not seen any of that from Reform. You get, you know, the headline, "We'll leave the ECHR," like that's the panacea for sorting out all of our problems with the small boats. But as the evidence that we've got through that work that Kemi commissioned has evidenced and shown to us that just leaving the ECHR will not solve the problem. It's got to be part of a wider package of measures that will really, you know, brought together, will help us to deliver those issues. And our job is to articulate and argue that case between now and the election to show people that we're serious. We're not doing the headline grabbing. I'm sick of politicians doing that. We've had it for too long. We're doing the grown-up, decent work, showing that it's evidence-based. That's what Kemi is about, actually. That's the leadership that she's brought, because she thinks things through. And, you know, the last time we had the sort of major policy work like this was about 50 years ago. So it's right that we're taking the time to do it, because I want to be able to look the electorate in the eye and say to them, when we're making a pledge, I know for a fact that we can deliver it because we've got the homework and the background behind it to do it. Because I'm as worried as everybody else about how people are frustrated with politicians. You know, I don't go into politics just to say glib things and you know, false promises. I actually go into it because I want to deliver.
I'm convinced that politics
and
has changed.
Why I'm feeling more convinced.
I'm convinced that politicians have for too long pretended to be, for whatever reasons, what they're not. I think that one of the reasons that there is traction for reform is that we don't actually care whether you're squeaky clean or you have a drink or a fag or you've been divorced twice or you once did this, that and the other. They just want people that they can elect who will do what they say they're going to do. I guess you wouldn't call him her nemesis, but Kemi Badenoch's nemesis in my mind would be Robert Jenrick. He sort of stole the narrative today, a barnstorming speech where he hit out at activist judges, plans, as I've said, to change all of that. He's also been caught by The Guardian. I don't know anybody that reads that, but there we go. Apparently he was at a dinner in March in the Handsworth area, in Birmingham, and he secretly recorded saying he said it was one of the worst integrated places in the world, and he hadn't seen another white face in an hour and a half that he'd spent in that area, Handsworth in Birmingham, filming a video about litter. Is Robert Jenrick a racist, Stuart McAndrew?
No, because actually what you haven't covered there is what he went on to say, which was, this isn't about race, this isn't about a religion, it isn't about colour, it's about integration. And you know, my former constituency, I had areas where the people were coming together, whether they were Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, Christians, whatever, working together because they saw that actually working on integration was really important, to have good communities where we can unite. And what he's pointing out is that in some communities that might not be happening in the way that it should.
I don't necessarily
sometimes
disagree.
You've got to address these really difficult questions.
I don't necessarily disagree with them, and a paper like The Guardian would jump on board. Can I ask you, and you've been passionate about what you believe, do you think you as a party would be in a much better position if the party had gone with who they thought, or most people thought they'd go with at the leadership election time, which was indeed Robert Jenrick, who seems as an orator, as a person out there with people, he seems to connect. Do you think it would have been a different situation right now if he'd won the leadership election?
Well, I'm not going to predict what might have happened. The reality is Kemi did win the backing of the members of the party, and she is doing the job that she pledged to do in that leadership election, which was do the groundwork, do the hard work, show the policies have been thought through, think about the things, how we're going to deliver them. And you know what? Robert Jenrick is an important member of that team. And
listen,
in
I hope
Cabinet,
for you,
we are
I hope
together
for you,
as a team.
I hope for you you're right, but look, Chris sends a text which sums up hundreds that I get. He said it's a shame the Tories didn't do what they said they were going to do in government. The problem is I will never, ever trust them again. You've got a big hill to climb, but at least you're doing it with a spring in your step and a smile on your face. Stuart, I didn't mean to call you McAndrew. I don't know what happened then. Stuart Andrew, Tory MP for Daventry and Shadow Health Secretary live from the Tory Party conference. Thank you very much indeed. What is it, 18 minutes to 5? What do you make of that? The Tories are talking detail. We haven't just come out and shouted, we're going to leave the ECHR, as Reform have done. They would assume that Reform have done no work and that it's all, you know, on the back of a fag packet, just say what is popular. But for 15 months, we've heard nothing from Kemi and her shadow cabinet. Does that mean that you don't believe that she can ever be Prime Minister? Do you believe she can? Do you believe the Reform is a bubble that's going to burst? Or are you, like many of us, thinking, actually, you know what? We've had left, we've had right, we've had experience, we've had comebacks, we've had letdowns, we've had lies. Why the bloody hell don't we try something else? Talk Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back tomorrow morning, 6 a.m, Morning Glory. You see what we did with Morning Glory? He's an up and at it. You see what I did there, yeah. Anyway, he's back tomorrow morning. 0344 499 1000. Hello, this is brilliant. Hello to Christopher. You know who you are, driving on the A303 to visit his parents in Dorset. How lovely. I used to do that, but my parents, sadly, now dead. Anyway, he says, great listen. We love you. Common sense. Chris James, you're a legend. Thank you very much indeed. Also, Rob's been on from Newcastle way. Hey, man. He said, I'm a proud reformer, Jez, with many Muslim friends. People need to know that most of us who support reform aren't fascists, and neither do my Muslim friends think it. In fact, a lot of the Muslims I know, and I know many, think the same way as me, and none of them are anti-anybody flying the flag of this bloody country. If we play Pakistan at cricket, they turn up flying their flag, and we don't get our knickers in a twist. Why is this country so completely and utterly barking mad? Garner says, is that really a name? Yeah. He says, surely the most famous resident of Lytham St Anne's is not Les Dawson. It's, when I'm cleaning windows in my profession, I work hard and I rarely stop. That's George Formby, in case you didn't know what I was doing. Let's go to Lincoln, which is very flat. Is Darryl flat, or are you up for it, my friend?
Hi, Bye, Jerry.
Great line, bye. 03, let's just get this right. Let's not put somebody on us in a car that hasn't got a signal. Can we try somebody else? 0344 499 1000. Jez, it always makes me laugh when the opposition say there's a long way to the next election. How nobody seems to want to accept that there is an increasingly good chance of there needing to be a general election sooner rather than the scheduled time is beyond me. They think they have all the time in the world, the Tories, to get their ducks in a row. I don't think that will be the case. Their ducks are finished. Mirella, good afternoon. Jez, on Saturday morning I woke up with a smile when I saw a flag. When I left the house I saw a further 8 flags. By Sunday morning they were gone. I presume this was the council. Amazing they found staff on a Sunday morning to remove flags but not mend potholes. Debs from Surrey. Oh God, Bob in Farnborough. Jet Talk, who's going to tell King Charles to take the flags down on the lampposts in the Mall? That's a very interesting one. Do you think that old Starmer and his cronies would go, get rid of the flags, it's fascist and racist? We can't get that guy back? Is that what you're telling me? It's an absolute shambles, this show right now. I'm going to crack the whip. I'll be back in 3.
My thoughts are with those people held underground, starved, not afforded one shred of humanity by their captors. Contrast that with idiotic, stupid, perverse students who want to hold commemorative events. And are these events to honour the Jewish people that were slaughtered that day? No. They are not.
No.
And shame upon each and every person who takes part in any such gathering today.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Talk about Jez. People who are starting to realise that it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. It's time for something different. It's time for something changing. Alison in Billericay. Hi, Alison. It's a tricky one. I live in a very safe Tory seat, Jez, and as angry as I was with them, I was still going to vote for them until they parachuted in a mate of Sunak's last minute. So I voted Reform. The Tory won by 20 votes, and the runner-up was not Reform, it was Labour. We can't have that anymore, really. Chris from Wales. Oh, lovely. Why did I do that? Until the Conservatives actually realised they were the continuation of the Blair government and get rid of the wets, they are utterly, utterly finished. Steve's in Lincoln as well. Lincoln isn't flat, mate. We've two ruddy big hills. We have a cathedral and an RAF base on the top of the other one. You need to come here and visit. Yeah, all right. I just seemed quite flat the one time I went to it. Back to the conference. Yeehaw! Ryan Saby, good man, Deputy Political Editor at The Sun. How are you, sir? Good afternoon. Are you excited amongst the thousands of people that all went on one minibus to the Tory party conference?
I genuinely cannot wait until Kemi Badenoch's speech, but as soon as that is over, I'm getting out of here. So roll on.
When is her speech, right? When is her speech?
Dead on 11 o'clock, and we expect it to last about 40-45 minutes. So those delegates in there, I just actually hope that the hall is full for that. Because when we saw Mel Stride yesterday when I was in there, it was barely half full. I mean, at the back of the hall there were rows and rows of empty seats.
I'd love your political judgment on this. Every time I speak to a Tory, we started with James Price, former government advisor. We then spoke to Stuart Andrew, Shadow Health Secretary. Never heard of him before. Very nice man, though. And they're all talking about ideas, and they're talking about meat on the bone. And Kemi, what Kemi's done for 15 months is she's gone away and she's thought it through, and it's not back of a fag packet. It's easy to say, we'll leave the ECHR, but the difference with Kemi Badenoch is she sat down, she's worked out how this strategy can happen. But I keep saying to them, Ryan, that out of their bubble of their conference, millions of people in this country, you know, who read The Sun, who listen to talk, are saying, you've had a march stolen on you, love. Farage has been talking about this stuff for months, and you can talk about detail, but couldn't you have been on the front foot a bit quicker? And you look at politics, if you're me, and you go, this is irreversible. It's gone too much in the other direction. They seem to me, Ryan, to miss the boat every time, the Tory party right now.
Yeah, I think what's happening is they're playing catch-up, and they're playing catch-up with Reform and Nigel Farage. And I think whether it comes to the immigration issue or net zero, it always seems like they're one or two steps behind. And I think it's, you know, in some respects, it's good that our political leaders do think about their policies, but does it take 6 months? Does it take 9 months to actually go, oh, do you know what? We will actually follow through with this and leave the European Convention of Human Rights if we win power? Is it, you know, why does she take so long on
Why not
net
come
zero?
out and say early? Why not come out early doors and go, listen, I'm the new leader, and I can tell you now, I want to leave the ECHR, I want to ditch net zero, but I'm not going to just stand here and spout, because I haven't. I'm working on it, and we'll come back to you, but I want to make those guarantees. Now, that can be criticised, as Farage has been criticised, but I'm talking about the hard-working men and women of this country who want to hear that their politicians are doing something, and I think that's a massive reason why Farage has the traction. Has he been attacked as much by the Tories as he was by the Liberal Democrats and Labour, or not? Have they been near to sort of avoiding him? What's it been like up there?
Compared to Labour, not even on the scale. Labour, we had Nigel Farage mentioned in pretty much every single speech on that main stage, whether it was Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves, David Lammy, Shabana Mahmood. Every single person had a set passage in their main speech to their delegates about Nigel Farage. And when it comes to Farage here, of course he's being mentioned, but not on the same sort of scale of ferocity that we had last week. And when we came to the Lib Dems and Ed Davey, I think he mentioned him 23 times during his speech just the other week. So Farage is, I just think here they don't really want to draw as much attention to Nigel Farage as what they did.
Which is really interesting.
What Keir Starmer is doing.
Which is really interesting, because yesterday, of course, there was that poll that said that half the members want her gone and the other half would like a pact with Reform. And today, 20 councillors, Tory councillors, right? You know, day two, big conference. 20 councillors have defected. I just feel she's like a football manager who can't get a result. To me, it seems inevitable. Maybe I'm being cynical, pal.
No. No, I think what's happened here is you've seen this because there's been this vacuum over several months, and now you're only sort of seeing policies that are coming out. And speaking to Tory MPs privately, I think one of the things that they are saying is that first impressions really count. Yeah. And I think as we said a minute ago, you really have to put your stamp down and say, this is what I stand for. A bit like Keir Starmer. What is his big vision? What is his overarching theme of what his premiership is
God
all
knows.
about? And I don't think in this day, and age, you get a long time to sort of explain that. I think it has to be in the first few weeks, in that first few months, because the public in this day and age are very unforgiving. So that's why you just have to get on the front foot and get on the front foot very, very quickly.
$1 million question, because I know you're a busy man. There you are at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. Plenty of spare seats. Has Gary Neville shown up at all?
No, not at all. I haven't seen him walking around the perimeter fence or anything like that at all. I think he's staying well away from this.
Well, you mean the perimeter fence that was put up by angry middle-aged white men who want to raise the flag? Just very quickly, unbelievable comments, Ryan, eh? Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, Gary Neville, he's very, very outspoken. It does seem strange that the Labour or the government actually sort of distanced themselves from those comments yesterday. So even Downing Street were getting wound up. There has been talk about him being a future mayor of Manchester, but you just wonder whether someone, with these kind of sort of the views that whether Labour would take a chance on him now. Now that was spoken about, in the run-up to the last election, but it'd be interesting to see what the private thoughts of.
It's interesting, isn't it? In the space of 1 week, Neville and his mate Burnham have gone from shoo-ins to absolutely they've bitten the dust. Ryan, we know you're busy, mate. You've done a fabulous job. And listen, go to bed early. Don't drink too much. Be ready and excited for Kemi's speech, and then be on the 11:58 back to civilization. You're a top man. I'm not in upsetting Manchester. I lived there for 15 years. Ryan Sabey from the Labour Party. No, the Tory people. Well, whichever bloody conference. They're all the same, aren't they? Not very excited. Let's go to Liverpool quickly, very quickly. Dan, you've literally got 1 minute on Talk Drive for the news. What you got for me, kidder?
I would like to say, during the Labour conference, do you think Keir Starmer's wife was jealous how much, saying, I wish he talked about me with how much compassion as he does Nigel Farage?
I'm sorry, mate. I don't know whether my hear. What did you say?
Sorry. I said, do you think during the Labour conference meeting, Keir Starmer's wife was jealous how much he was talking about Nigel Farage more than he has her this entire year?
Maybe. Thanks, mate. 0344 499 1000. This is Talk Drive. We're on until 7 o'clock today. If you are going to ring, try and get a phone that works and have something interesting to say to me. You can also text the show, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. If you want to send a voice note, you can do that via WhatsApp. Coming next, by the way, she's been on holiday for 2 weeks. I think it's a disgrace she's had holiday, but she's standing by to give it full on this station and this show. Sarah Pochin, Reform's MP for Runcorn and Helsby, after the news at 5, which is next on Talk Drive.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Good afternoon. It's just gone 5 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. Right, we're having a rule this hour. If you do ring up, you need to know what you're going to talk about and have a phone that works. 0344 499 1000 is the number for Talk Drive, the home of free speech and common sense. You can also text the show 87222. I feel like for the last 2 weeks, my arms haven't been my own. It's like being armless. It's just not been the same because, ladies and gentlemen, she's back from a glamorous holiday. Sarah Pochin, Reform MP, Runcorn and Helsby. Hello, love.
Hello, it's lovely to be
back.
Are
you allowed to say where you went? Or
no.
No, but you had a nice holiday.
I did have a nice holiday.
Went to the Isle of Wight. Didn't you?
I had a rest.
You had a rest. But interestingly, and I've had this from other politicians, that's hard to do with everything that's going on, right?
I drove my husband mad because I couldn't switch off. Yeah. I was just sat there constantly texting or WhatsApping. And
it's addictive, isn't it?
It's utterly addictive what we do. And that's why I do it, because I love this job. But you can't switch off.
When I'm not on and I read something in the news, I'm like, I want to be on to be able to talk about it, you know?
I know.
So much to talk to you about. Runcorn and Helsby, up north. I just wanted to get your opinion on a couple of things. I wasn't on air last week when the horrors happened to the Jewish community. Obviously today, October the 7th, the anniversary of the biggest single loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust, when Hamas terrorists, of course, killed over 1,200 innocent people. And from all of that, the situation, the powder keg of the Middle East has sort of exploded, excuse the pun. Everybody has a side. I want to ask you about Gary Neville. I went ballistic yesterday, and lots of people dug at me in X, which is absolutely couldn't give a fat rat's ass. Not bothered about that. That's fine. If you give it, you should learn to take it. But I just don't understand these people who have the good things of life and live in gated communities and look and talk down to the hard-working men and women who literally have put them in their place. This is men and women who have gone to work to buy season tickets to watch Manchester United, or I read some stories today of his workers who are livid with him because he made them take down a flag because he says, and I quote, that the Union flag is divisive. How can it be?
He should be really ashamed of himself, and I think he probably regrets, the way he is behaved. Do you not think he does?
I think the only thing he'll be worried about is friendship with Beckham. He's going to get a knighthood, isn't he? And at the end of the day, but Beckham has spent years trying to get a knighthood. And I'm completely. He is symptomatic, is he not, of a large number of those sorts of celebrities who have made 70, 100 million quid and now talk down to us. I mean, he was Starmer's attack dog. I reckon he wanted to be mayor of Manchester.
Well, he's referred, Neville has referred to white middle-aged man, hasn't he?
Yeah, me.
He's actually, you.
I'm all right.
And I look...
brilliant, thanks.
A very young-looking...
No, but it's true. He's basically said that I'm racist. If I put a flag up, I'm causing division.
He's alienated all of those people. I've had a flagpole in my garden, proudly flying the Union Jack for years.
Have you?
Absolutely, way before I started this, because I'm patriotic and I'm proud of this country. When I say I hope he's regretted it, because the backlash that's come from his foolish rhetoric, who does he think he is? Speaking to, look at the March the 13th, the march on the 13th of September. That was the people he's alienated, plus black people and Asian people. There were all sorts in that march. But he's alienated all those people that were there in London, and it wasn't 100,000 like the BBC said. It was way over 1 million people flying their flags proudly for this country.
But people like Neville, and I know I've gone on about this for 2 days now, to me absolutely symbolise that trendy liberal left wing, don't do as I do as I say. I said yesterday, which is why it went sort of viral, I went, well, I'll tell you what, give you 100 million or 70 million pound money that you've got, and then give it away to all the migrants, right, and move to a house that's next door to a migrant hotel, and would you allow your daughters to walk up and down the street? But they won't answer that. They won't answer about girls being attacked because that is racist. He touched upon the Jewish horror that happened in Heaton the other day. But he didn't mention the Palestine Action March that took place, like students today on bloody campuses on the most important day for the Jewish people.
How shocking!
And, you know, and I see. I said it earlier. Lucy Connolly gets arrested. I don't like what she wrote, but why the hell isn't that vile piece of whatever? Have you seen the video footage of the woman, where they've named her today, cutting down the yellow ribbons?
I know.
I mean, how bad's that?
It's absolutely awful. And do you know what? I feel so sorry for these young people that are being indoctrinated now in schools, in our schools by our teachers, indoctrinated with this nonsense, and then it carries on through further education, through our colleges, and then you get to university, and I guess it's always been the case, hasn't it, that students protest about, you know, whatever they want to protest about that morning when they wake up. It's almost like a rite of passage.
Absolutely.
But,
which bandwagon are we jumping on
exactly.
today, right?
But in this case, you know what? They're protesting about stuff that they really, in my view, don't really understand the arguments involved here, whether it's the geographical territorial arguments, the political arguments, but even things like, look, Richard Tice, my colleague, has just come back from Israel. He was showing me pictures only this morning of the mountains of food in Gaza. He was in Gaza waiting to be distributed by Hamas. This is a lie about the starvation of the Gazan people. The food is there. It's Hamas that's holding on to the food.
I don't understand, and I get
on
called.
The black market.
Listen, I get called every name under the sun. I was brought up to believe that you don't negotiate with terrorists. I've sat in this.
Absolutely.
I've been sat in this studio in another life with somebody who disagreed violently with everything I said, who literally wouldn't accept. I mean, look, nobody likes what we see in Gaza. I've got 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about the Jewish state, and I'm not a massive fan of Netanyahu, but let's have it, shall we? That Israel is the only democratically elected government in the Middle East. They are surrounded by terrorist organisations funded by mad mullahs in Iran, Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, right? I'm not saying what's going on in Gaza is great in any which way, and I'm sure there's PR and stuff said on both sides. But what happened on October the 7th was absolutely vile. And the people who jump up and down, this is my argument, they only see one side.
They do. And there's still 48...
They only talk about one side,
There's still 48 hostages. We believe that half of those aren't alive anymore. But those people are still there. And I've always said, when I'm having this discussion, how would the British people feel about their government and what the government should be doing if those 48 people were British?
Absolutely.
You know, we would not be forgiving our government if it wasn't doing everything it could to get those people back. You don't negotiate with terrorists, and you know, it's one of the things that I absolutely, you know, will always stand by. Never negotiate with terrorists. We've got to get those hostages out. I'm actually going myself to Israel in November to lend my support in a small way that I can, in the same way that Richard, as I say, went very recently, because we have to be brave enough to stand up to this nonsense and show what's actually really happening out there on the ground.
I just, you know, you can't win this argument with people, but my argument's on a bigger scale, if you like, than even that horror. I mean, the immigration issues that we're finally talking about as a country, you know, certain people will jump up and down about the rights of immigrants and ignore the rights of young white English girls attacked whose lives were blighted forever. And to me, Neville sort of symbolises that he, you know, my truth is the only truth. You're a bunch of right-wing fascists. You know, if you are a proper socialist, Gaz, give your money away. Shut your mouth and give your money away.
He's a classic example who's someone who's living in a bubble and unaffected by this. And do you know, today, is it today, I think, that the pink T-shirted ladies protesting peacefully in Epping are now likely to be prosecuted by Tower Hamlets Council for being far-right extremists. That's the sort of thing that Gary Neville is effectively promoting, supporting with his type of rhetoric. These are mums that are concerned about their daughters being sexually assaulted, raped by these individuals that are housed in these hotels. I have the same problem in Runcorn that I have raised and raised. I've been accused of being, you know, a racist, of making this stuff up by the local Labour councillors, the local Labour council, the police crime commissioner, who of course is Labour up there, and it's only through me raising it endlessly actually, that even Panorama came and did a documentary on it, and it was shown last week. And of course, they did everything they possibly could, as the BBC, not to show the interviews with my residents, telling them as it is, telling them what's happening in our streets.
Do you think, well, we talk about this a lot, do you think, when you look at the way that it is, and I use Neville as an example because to me, I mean, I could argue with somebody like that forever. I'm not saying he's entitled to his opinion, I'm entitled to mine, but my opinion apparently is outrageous. I should be trashed, I should be cancelled.
Mine too.
They think they're right the whole time. Do you see, I know you fight for it, I know we fight for it here on Talk, do you see it genuinely changing, or is it going to take longer than my lifetime? Is it going to take 10, 15, 20, 30 years? I mean, are we stuck in a bubble of ideology, or can common sense and just, you know, I don't care what the colour of your skin is, but if you're going to come to my country, work, provide, supply, help, integrate, learn our language, and make the most of it and celebrate it. Don't try and deride it, take advantage of it. I don't know.
It's happening in every part of our society. So this morning I had a meeting with a former prison officer, because this is an area of brief that I would like to pick up. So I'm doing a lot of research, and we'll start to write, you know, some serious policy in this area. But what I wanted to tell you was, in one particular prison, they slowly shut down the workshops, the educational areas, all the things, to make room for a giant mosque in our prisons, paid for at a cost of £1.2 million, paid for by you and me, Jeremy, the British taxpayer, because the numbers of Muslim inmates and converts, of course, because they're indoctrinated in there, often threatened to
Which prison?
To join.
Where is it?
It was HMP Ramby. HMP Ramby, yeah, 1.2 million mosque was built.
What do you say to the people? And you'd expect me to ask you this. What do you say to the people listening to this who'll go, yeah, but by saying what you've just said about a mosque in a prison, right? This is an open goal for you. You know what happened last week when that mosque, there was suspected arson. I know you've been on holiday. That's the division, and by saying that about mosques, you're encouraging people. We are, as a station, not encouraging people, but we're saying this, and people go and do that. What do you say to those people?
I say, as a magistrate of 20 years, I will always uphold the British legal system, the British law, our common law, OK? And there is no place in British prisons for a mosque. You want to put your prayer mat down and pray, that's fine. But there is no place for the taxpayer spending £1.2 million on a mosque to go into a British prison. And the chaplain of the Christian chapel there wanted a new altar cloth, and he was told no. It was £700 his altar cloth. His new
Can we
altar
try and get
cloth.
hold of somebody at HMP Rumby? That would be great. Yeah, that would be.
Well, this is all come from the horse's mouth this morning, which is why I'm so, you know, cross about it all, because the British people have no idea how bad it is.
No, it's really interesting.
Until people like me get in charge of these type of briefs and get stuck in and stop this, then it won't change.
So Robert Jenrick, she's raising
has he done another video?
I've missed it. No, he hasn't done another video from. No, don't start. No, he apparently stole the narrative at the Tory party conference, because I upset one of them yesterday by saying to somebody.
Is it reform narrative?
No, I said did you all go in one minibus? Because there didn't seem to be a lot of people there. But on a serious note, he today has hit out, and this is your brief, Justice. He's hit out at activist judges as he set out Tory plans to hand ministers a bigger role in filling judicial vacancies. In his party conference speech, the Shadow Justice Secretary claimed judges with links to pro-migrant charities had undermined public trust in the courts, and he pledged, Sarah Potion, that if the Tories win the next election, she's smiling, they would reverse Blair-era changes that restricted ministerial involvement in judicial appointments, where wielding a judge's wig as a prop, he promised the move would stop judges who blur the line between adjudication and activism. My question would be this: you were in power for 14 years. Why didn't you do so? Why is everybody so reactive and not proactive?
Well, if you listen to I know you did. You were there at the Reform conference. In my conference speech, I said we have to stop the politicisation of the judiciary. I feel very strongly about this. Our judges have become politicised. Clearly, Robert Jenrick has listened to everything I said about this subject and taken it on board, and now decided, it's a really good idea to rein in the politicisation of our judiciary. And what we're seeing with the two-tier justice, examples, endless examples of it, that this is exactly what's happening. But you're right, they've let this happen. The Tory government have let this happen over 14 years, a slow, insidious politicisation
let's take it up,
of our judicial system.
how long have you got? Have you got a bit bit
as
of
long
time.
as you like.
Lovely. Let's see if we get some calls. If you want to ring Sarah Poachin right now, by the way, and put a question to her, 0344 499 1000. So you take the Tories, right, and you take them, and they've all been talking, and we have to balance it on this station, and they all say one thing, one criticism of reform, which is seemingly their mantra, which is it's very easy to throw out platitudes. We'll leave the ECHR. We'll deport foreign criminals. We'll detain and we'll deport, right? The Tories have made a big thing about all that reform do is sell sound bites. There's no meat on the bone.
Yeah.
It's all on the back of a fag packet. It's all on a hoof. Nigel Farage and his team.
Down the pub, they're saying.
So,
we do it down the pub.
What is the reform answer to that? Because you touched upon how you're working on this, and we know, don't we, that lots of work is going on backstage.
Well, look,
backstage, you know what I mean?
There's a few things I would say about that. For all their rhetoric, both the Labour and Tories saying we develop our policies down the pub, it's back of a fag packet. Well, isn't it interesting, Jeremy, how they are using all our policies? So suddenly Jenrick wants to rein in politicisation of the judiciary. Suddenly Kemi Badenoch comes out with, yeah, we're definitely going to leave the ECHR. We've decided that's the right thing to do. Well, what a shame you didn't decide that 14 years ago and start work on it. You know, it doesn't matter what Reform is saying. We're going to rein in the welfare system. They've started Mel Stride. Sadly, no one was listening to him, but his speech was about reining in the welfare state, and they're going to save £47 billion. Now, where is the criticism of, where did you get your 47 billion? Because I tell you what, all they're doing is repeating our policies, and we are working so hard now with Zia Youssef heading up our policy unit on literally dissecting all these areas. We launched a very detailed plan on our deportation bill, on how we were going to do it, and so, you know, we are 4 years out, but we are absolutely committed to the direction of travel.
They love you. They want to talk to you. Colin is in... Is it Colin or Colin? Colin, is it Colin or Colin in Essex?
It's Colin, Gerard.
Colin, Sarah Poachin is here in all her glory after a holiday. This is true, a magistrate for 20 years. What do you want to say, pal?
Well, this was just a tale of the marches, the pro-Palestinian marches in London. Me and a mate of mine, this was about a month after they'd started, so it would have been November of 2 years ago.
Yep.
Been up to Camden, down into the West End. Huge march going on. That was when there were tens of thousands of people marching. Thought, well, couldn't find out where the end was, so we're trying to get across the Strand. So me and my mate said, look, we just walk through them. Just walk straight through the other side. Won't be any problems. About a third of the way across the road, this woman, probably middle-aged from the home counties, has confronted me. She's got a flag on a stick, flag tied round her neck, keffiyeh and all the gear, and she's gone, where's your flag? Why aren't you marching? And I sort of looked at her and I thought, why don't you grow up? You're marching for a country that doesn't even exist. Who are you going to be marching for next week? Narnia? And I thought she was going to have a stroke.
But that you said that earlier, sir, didn't you? You said it's whatever this week's thing is.
Yeah.
I don't care what you march for. Colin, great call, thanks. I don't care, but my argument is always, why can't I fly my bloody flag if pro-Palestinian people can fly theirs? Why have we got Gary Neville and his ilk saying, take it down, the Union Jack is divisive, but every other flag in the world can be... It really, really winds me up.
But also, we are a democratic country, and Reform will always support a peaceful demonstration.
Of course.
You know,
free speech, that's right,
free
absolutely.
speech. And you know how much we go on and on about free speech, but what's happening here is that free speech is being shut down, such that the only speech that is allowed now is almost a whether it's pro-Palestine, pro-Muslim, whatever it might be, pro-Islam. You know, we're going to have the blasphemy law coming in, aren't we? The Islamophobia definition next, so that we're not going to be able to say anything critical of Islam.
But there's my point. That's fine. That's fine if you've got balance, but we have a government. There is no balance in terms of justice. There is no balance in terms of criminals, sentencing, staying in jail. The police, it's just imbalance.
Colin, fly your Union Jack with pride, like I do.
So you won't be prosecuting us if you are the Justice Secretary in 4 years?
I will not be prosecuting.
Right, as your Chief of Staff gets a bit stroppy, can I have her for another 5 or 6 minutes? He's disappeared anyway. 0344 499 1000. Do you want to go to Dave or let's go, we're going to Oldham now. Dave, you're through to Sarah Poachin. What you got for me, kiddo?
Oh, hey, Sarah.
Hi, Dave.
Hi. Listen, if Nigel gets in, right, how's he going to get rid of the immigrants? Everybody's promised this. Everybody's promised this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, Dave, exactly what we're going to do to get rid of the immigrants. Anybody that comes to our shores will not set foot in this country. They will be gathered up on the beach, deported to a detention centre and processed offshore. They will not come into this country. So that is new arrivals. That can be done. The Labour government could be doing it. They promised that they would do it and they haven't. The Conservative government could have been doing it.
I'm going to jump in for a reason because I have a job to do, and I know Dave's line isn't great, but Dave, I think it would be fair to say that another point to what he's saying is everybody says they're going to do it.
Yep.
And we are yet to see any bugger actually do it.
Oh.
And we hear a lot about the blob, and we hear a lot about how, you know, the establishment will turn on reform. And it's a question I've asked you before, and I know Dave and hundreds of people want to hear the response to this. What happens when the establishment, the blob, the courts and everybody tell Nigel and his cabinet, you ain't bloody doing that, it's just not happening?
The difference is that reform will leave the ECHR. Reform will repeal the Human Rights Act. With those gone, you stop the left-wing industry of woke lawyers that
I would bow. Why is there not illegal? Why is there not? Why is a democratically elected government with a massive majority not bringing in laws in Parliament?
Because they don't want to. It's their vote, isn't it? They want this vote. It's their core vote, and they're not going to do anything to upset this community. And so they don't want to. It is about the will of the government, and Reform has the will to do it. You know from talking to me
of course,
that if I'm in power, we will be doing this.
This is very scary. It's 5:23. We're live across the United Kingdom. Sarah Poachin, Reform MP for Runcorn and Helsby, with us for another 10 minutes, despite the fact that Chief of Staff, Chief of Staff. Let's call him.
Let's promote him.
Have you noticed? You noticed when I'm talking about him, he hides. 0344 499 1000. She will answer absolutely anything. We're back in 3. I'm off for a wee. Ta.
still wearing the shirt today, though, so obviously it hasn't traumatised you too much.
No, it hasn't traumatised me at all, to be honest. I saw the funny side of it when I was watching the videos, but when I was sitting in that cabin, at that time it wasn't so funny. Like, I was holding the window shut because the window on the driver's side is meant to lock from the inside, right, but it didn't. So I was literally holding it shut. You can see on the video there, I'm talking to someone who's opened it from the outside, right, briefly, and then I'm holding it shut afterwards.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It is the home of common sense, and we're here with the amazing Sarah Pochard, MP, Reform MP for Runcorn and Helsby, and your chief of scarf. It's a joke. Says we've got you till 5:35. When you were on holiday, you didn't have this minute-by-minute organisation. You sure you missed it, really?
I really missed it. It's so addictive, this job, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
0344 499 1000. They want to grill you. Let's go to Dorset. Richard, you're through to Sarah Pochard. What you got, kiddo?
Good afternoon, you guys. Just a very quick one with Sarah's legal background. When the Reform Party gets into power, how on earth are they going to get rid of these bureaucratic quangos?
Bureaucratic quangos? Just tell me what you mean exactly,
Well,
Richard.
just the fact that the Labour Party don't ever get... If I said to the Labour Party, right, you see this bottle of hand sanitizer, Starmer, you idiot... can you tell me how I can get rid of it? Starmer would go, well, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a committee or a quango, and we're going to work out how the hell we can sell this hand sanitizer without upsetting anybody.
I see what you mean, Richard.
They're
there's
just
like
rubbish,
I know,
man.
but there's a really important point here. The money that is wasted, the British taxpayer money that is wasted on these quangos that you're talking about, on these layers of extra management instead of frontline people. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about the civil service, which probably you're referring to, Richard, or whether we're talking about the NHS or whatever we're talking about, the layers of money that's wasted on people having a meeting to have a meeting. Let's have a meeting to decide what we're going to talk about at the next meeting. You know, and the money that's wasted. But what you get with Reform politicians and what we're going to bring in, Richard, are businessmen and women, people that understand the value of every single pound they spend.
But what about, and it is a relevant point, Richard, I know you're still there, what about, I guess you're meaning by this, if you, with all the will in the world, you're the Justice Secretary and you're going to get rid of this, that and the other, and you've got a permanent secretary stood in front of you saying that's not possible?
The tail has got to stop wagging the dog. We are the elected politicians. When we are in power, we have been given that mandate by the British people.
But it's
about will.
My tongue.
Jeremy,
how embarrassing was that?
You stay quiet and I'll talk.
All right.
It's about following through the will of the British people. If you are elected, if you are voted in, then you have the mandate. And the reason that governments lose their mandate, and the reason that this government will not get in, and the reason the Tories didn't get in again, is because any government that doesn't listen to the people, that defies the will of the people, is a government that will fall, and that is exactly what's going to happen to this government.
Richard endorsed it. Do you believe that Reform can follow through with their words?
I think they can, as long as they've got the political will, which they will, no doubt. The only thing that I'm very, very concerned about is the fact that, like, for instance, when Liz Truss was Prime Minister, basically she had a lot of problems trying to get through the layers and layers.
I think she tried to probably do it too quickly and was on her own. And I'm not trying to cut you up, but I think that is true. I think a lot of what Liz Truss probably over a period of time talked about probably was implementable, but it was too quick. There's a question for you. Thank you very much indeed, Richard. Andrew, I'll be there in a tick. There's a question for you. The markets, the bond markets, that the institutions lost control, lost belief in Liz Truss and brought her down. Why haven't they done for Starmer? By the time this November budget comes, we'll be... I mean, I think the EMF might say so.
Let's face it, the gilt markets have been very jittery. The interest rate, I think, has gone up to 5.8%. You know, the government is borrowing more money than it ever said it was going to in its manifesto. I mean, crazy amounts. So they don't even know whether it's 20 million, 30 million, 40 million. The black hole figure changes virtually on a daily basis. And the problem with the markets getting jittery is that if the markets lose confidence in the Chancellor, then that's when we have real...
because every other
problems,
person has.
and potentially that's where you end up having to go to the IMF, which
Richard
clearly is
III
extreme.
from accounts. That'll be interesting. Let's
Yeah.
go to Halifax. That's not in Nova Scotia, is it? Andrew, good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Drive. Sarah Pochin's here.
Good evening, Jeremy. Good evening, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah, is your party still committed, and I hope the answer is yes, to banning hideous face coverings, be they burqas or balaclavas, in all public spaces? Because that, for me, is an absolute must if you're to secure my vote.
Yep, absolutely. Look, I've gone really out on a limb on talking about this one. On the grounds, on several grounds, all face coverings we're talking about in public places.
Yeah,
so you're right to mention balaclavas as well as niqabs, you know, the Muslim face covering for women. But the point is, it's on the grounds of public safety. And I have had police come up to me and say, thank you for helping us do our job, because how can we identify criminals on the streets, whether they have got a balaclava on or whether they're disguised in a full burqa and niqab? You can't do it. So on the grounds of public safety, it's important. And as I said in Parliament when I raised this issue, France has done it, Belgium's done it, you know, other countries, sensible countries have done it. This is no new thing. You know, even Muslim countries have done it.
What do you say to
Kazakhstan
the
has
people who
done
say
it.
it's racist to make people change their traditional headgear? What do
If
you
you
say?
want to wear that traditional headgear in your own home, fine. If you want to wear it on the streets of our country where it's not our culture, it's not fine. And the other grounds that I speak out on this issue is in defence of the women that are suppressed and have to wear this type of outfit. I mean, complete coverings. It's so prolific now on our streets in London, you know, where obviously I spend half the week. It's not our culture. And in my view, it is a threatening appearance. What about in hospitals where, you know, people are treated by nurses, doctors that are covered up, or in schools where our children are taught by people that are covered up? And also, Jeremy, it does nothing to you know, when you put the two people, integrate, yeah, thank you, I had a blank there.
Brilliant.
Integrate the communities. So on all those levels, yes, we will ban face coverings.
Andrew, response to that, my friend?
Good. Well, that's great, Sarah. Can I just recommend a YouTube video called The Fall of a British Town Centre, and it's set in Oldham. And if you watch that, it's about 25 minutes, you'll see just how hideous and ubiquitous that disgusting garment is on the streets of our country, and it's about time it was banned. It's been here for 20-odd years now. It's not
Let me
Islamic.
ask you, let me jump in and ask you what you would say to people who maybe would listen to you and say that's racist, sir. What would you say to that?
Well, race is about skin colour. It's not about the right to walk around Britain dressed up as a medieval executioner. If you want to do that, go and live somewhere else.
Interesting comments, Andrew in Halifax. Right on 25 to 6, the Chief of Scarf. I've done it. Where have you been? Don't go on holiday again. Can we have you next week?
Yeah, you can.
We've got to get her every week because Ryan, let me see. But this 5 o'clock thing, why are you not starting at 4? Is that because you're in Parliament?
Because I thought 5 was prime time.
Oh, I see. So you're now picking when you go on. Brilliant. Listen, it's great to have you on, and I know that you know there will be. Somebody said to me today, we're 3 years and 9 months from the general election. There's time to drop the ball for reform, and there will be many critics. But I think it's really important to get the message across. We had 3 Tories on earlier, and we try and balance it as best we can. But I think most people know where we're coming from. Lovely to see you, and your suntan from the Isle of Wight. Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah Pochin. She'll be back next week. She'll tell you when and where, because it's just my show. 25 to 6, back in a jiff.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
From 10 and Mike Graham with Morning Glory. Back tomorrow morning. The only way to wake up in the United Kingdom at 6 o'clock. It's 17... What is that? Why have I said that? It's 22 minutes to 6 o'clock. Simon's in West Sussex. Great show. Just question, leaving the ECHR will be day one with a reformed government, or will it take longer than Brexit did when we left? Interesting. Jez, Sarah, may I suggest all Talk listeners get a union flag and pole and fly it proudly, available at popular auction sites. Others are available. Mark in Somerset, a balding middle-aged white man. Oh, I forget, I'm also apparently a racist. Paul says, forgetting all the rubbish about fag packet economics from Labour and the Tories, when will Reform publish a fully costed budget to show how it will fund all their proposals to shut up all the detractors once and for all? Listen, it's not for me to explain, but I'll tell you this, they are working tirelessly behind the scenes. We talked about this earlier with, like, the Tories. Kemi Badenoch's decided to spend 15 months reviewing policies and writing detail. My argument would be if you don't come out and set your stall out, you're going to lose political ground, which is what the Tories have done. Yes, Reform will be filling in the gaps. I guess that will be the answer to that one. Talk, is the damage in giving away our fishing rights, Chagos Islands, is it reversible by the next government? Everything's reversible. Look at the climate agreement, the Paris thing. Trump went no, Biden went yes, and Trump went no. Jeremy Kyle, I'm from Ferryhill, County Durham. Why have I done that? It's not even an island. Me and my friends have put 250 flags up in our town and village, all donated by the people of our community. Anthony Donald, Michael Norman Foster, thank you very much indeed. Tony Pickering says, I hope Sarah doesn't wind up falling on a sword. She's bang on with everything she says. It's 20 minutes to 6 o'clock. We now ask for your attention, ladies and gentlemen, because we're raising the bar a level. It's hard to do that after Sarah Poachin, but we bring you, it says here, one of the finest political commentators, a former Conservative special advisor, and, oh God, is he at the conference as well? Charlie Rowley, hello! Oh, look.
Good afternoon, Jeremy.
Charlie, look, it could be your right shoulder. Right, there's absolutely no bugger there at all. It's completely empty, man. Just look, there's nobody there. One woman and a bottle of water.
Well, I was just talking to them, so I might have been responsible for their...
And over your other shoulder is Margaret
exit
Thatcher.
To the door.
Over your other shoulder is Margaret Thatcher. Charlie.
There she is.
Charlie. Oh, look, stronger borders. Yeah, brilliant. Nobody there. Honestly, there's less people at the Tory party conference that came in to Dover today on a boat. Charlie, welcome. We love you. Thanks for coming on. They're pretending, or pretending is the wrong word. The Tories have all been saying this message. You know, we spent 15 months to put meat on the bone. We unlike the Reform Party, fag packet politics, we are the serious opposition. We've got serious answers. We've had it costed. We've had it done properly. Have you, in all honesty, with the new haircut, have you been impressed with the way the Tory party has presented its policies, or are you, like many of us, thinking it's a bit little too late, to be fair?
Well, I think you're absolutely right on what you were saying a second ago, is that, you know, when you take a long time to announce something, you lose that political ground. Even if you're coming to a decision, such as leaving the ECHR, which is where Kemi Badenoch has concluded that the Tory party should be, that's following what Reform said months ago. That's what even former Labour Home Secretaries were saying weeks ago. So even if you're taking time to come to a more thoughtful conclusion and publishing a 200-page document, which I'm sure will be lovely bedtime reading for anybody that's interested, you do lose that political ground. And you've got to replace that with other things. So you've got to be talking about offers for young people. You've got to be fixing things like social care. You've got to be talking again maybe about identifying areas where even if you can't announce the figures about tax cuts, but you could say we're working towards X, Y, Z, or we're looking at A, B, C, so bear with us, but these are the things that we're excited about in the...
Or these are the things we believe in. That's the other thing. These are the things... You know, first day, for me, she could have gone, I've got work to do, but I am committed to cutting tax, securing our borders and sorting out the NHS. You'll forgive me while I get together a team account with you, but that is my guarantee to you. Nothing. A review. Has it been poorly attended? Because you're always honest to me. Others are going, oh, it's absolutely flooded. It doesn't look flooded to me. I mean, I upset one yesterday by saying, had you all gone on one minibus to get there?
Well, there's maybe a double-decker bus. Look, I mean, Sunday I heard, I only got here Monday afternoon. And look, I'm a stalwart for conferences. I love party conference. But, you know, I was only coming here yesterday afternoon because I thought, well, it's a long slog from Sunday to Wednesday. And if you don't know what's coming, if there's only really one conversation that's taking place, which is, you know, will this be a good conference for Kemi? Will it not? And what will Rob Jenrick be doing? That's pretty much what people are here to see. You know, we've been bombarded by, well, the one announcement of leaving the ECHR, which took 14, 15 months, and that's fine. But on the other hand, there's been a policy blitz taking place, about 25 announcements, which nobody can keep up on. So it's slightly mismanaging in that sense, but it is well attended. It's not the best. It is not attended. It is not the buzz that we are used to, because for the last 14 years we've been in government, and last year there was the leadership election taking place, so people were getting very excited about that. So this is the first year really being in opposition with an new leader of the opposition after the back of what was a absolute trouncing at the election in 2024 last year.
It's very interesting.
In the summer. So
I said earlier that sometimes, and I have nothing against Kevin Baden, I'm just speaking as I see. Sometimes in life, football managers, politicians, you just get the feeling that they can't do anything to reverse the trend. Yesterday, a poll came out while she was touring saying half of the party don't want her there and the other half want a pact with reform. Today she toured the media facilities early on to discover that 20 more councillors, Tory councillors across the country, have defected to reform in an operation called Operation Rolling Thunder. Brilliant. You're a Tory, you've been a Tory all your life. A lot of people contacting us will say, doesn't matter what they say for 10 or 15 years, mate, I've stopped believing them. And that is incredibly difficult. Policy blitzes or no policy blitzes. Good oratory, Robert Jenrick today, a little bit too late, I would suggest respectfully. I mean, there's an issue. If they got rid of her and voted in Jenrick, everybody's going to say, well, unfortunately, Nigel's been talking about that for 15 months. It's like, I don't know, it's like, however hard they try, they need to go away and lick their wounds for a decade or so, don't they?
I think that's absolutely right. Look, time is a healer for many things, and everything will just take time before the country looks at the Tory party again, because it failed to tackle immigration, both legal and illegal. It said since David Cameron's time that it was going to reduce the numbers from the hundreds of thousands to the tens of thousands. It didn't do that. It was also supposed to be a party of cutting taxes. Well, taxes went up to some of their highest levels. So they've gone up even higher now under this Labour government. But still, you're right when you said at the very start of this interview, what does the Tory party stand for? What does it believe? So when people have lost complete trust in the Tories, it seems, after 14 years, it's going to take time for people to come back and give them a second look. And there was a row, I think, that the Sun are reporting now between two MPs in the Parliamentary Lounge about Kemi's leadership. And that's exactly to your point a second ago, is because, whoever is in charge, it's going to be a long haul, a long slog to get back to the public looking at us again. People are saying, well, hold on, let's just get through to the May elections, because they're going to be a disaster as well. Anybody who was leading the Conservative Party right now, I'm sure the May elections would be a tough gig. So what does the Tory party do? I would hope that it can just find a way of being able to articulate clearly to the country that all the lessons, or the necessary lessons, have been learnt, but all the while doing the repair work, holding Labour's feet to the fire. They've got to be a good opposition. I think that's the key. You've got to be a good opposition again before you're going to get anywhere near government. And that's where Nigel Farage is obviously leader of Reform UK. He is seen as the leader of the opposition because he's leading
and
a party that is mounting.
And how crazy, Charlie, is that? They've
opposition.
got 5 seats, for Christ's sake, as is against 121. Somebody said to me the other day about the Tories, it's either like they can't believe still that they were trounced so badly, or they're sulking like the child that's lost the big toy, or this stark realisation that, unlike the last 50 years, it might seem, if you read polls, that you don't just get 5 years, mess it up, then they get 5 years and mess it up, and you'll be all right in 5 years because you'll get another chance to mess it up. That actually they are very aware about the seismic change that we all think is happening in British politics with the rise of other parties. And I think, I don't know, for me, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I would have wanted the Conservative Party leader to come out and barnstorming on day one go, listen, it was an absolute disaster. I'm going to have to purge, retrain, recalibrate, but I tell you, I am wedded to Conservative values. I will increase our military, I will secure our borders, I will lower our taxes, I will make sure our kids have a good education, and I will make sure that our National Health Service provides at source the people it's supposed to provide for. And they'd all have gone, well, those are Tory values, but nothing, we're going to have a review. In the meantime, Farage is running around back of the cigarette packet, not going, we're going to leave the easier job. Oh, everybody else thinks that might be a good idea. It's optics, isn't it? You do that for a living. It's optics, man.
Exactly. And, you know, that's why you've got half the Conservative Party that you might want to unite the right. We hear that phrase a lot. They want to get into bed with reform, maybe as part of a coalition, maybe to try and unite as a party. Now, that will never happen because Reform are so far ahead in the polls, because Reform have been able to articulate through Nigel, and it is largely through Nigel, but obviously great people like Sarah Pochen that you had on just a second ago before me, you know, they are able to now feel that they are articulating things that the country have been not able to talk about, because, you know, for too long we've had the woke left that says it's racist to talk about immigration, or it's far right. Even this Prime Minister says that you jump on a far right bandwagon if you dare talk about illegal immigration. But for the Conservative Party, who should have owned that ground, that should have stood up and defended those values in the past, obviously failed to do that. And the silent majority that has been simmering away over the last 14 years has now risen to the surface, and they've got someone in Nigel, for example, who is just saying what people for a long time have been thinking. If the Conservatives did that, whilst they were in government, then it might have been a different picture.
You know what happens whenever we do... By the way, I must say how very smart you look. New haircut, new tie and suit. I've never seen you. I mean, I'm used to you in your Crocs with your T-shirt. Right, Doe, you've ruined your hair now. Leave it, it's fine. Now, very quickly, usual same 4 questions. You're at Tory party conference. Does Kemi Begg not lead the Tories into the next election? Charlie Rowley, yes or no?
Oh, that's. I don't think I'm. Am I paid enough for these questions? Am I? No. Look, it's going to be.
You've said enough. Don't worry, it's fine. You've said enough. Yep. Does Keir Starmer lead the Labour Party at the next election?
No.
Is Nigel Farage the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom?
Potentially.
You should stand for Parliament, Charlie Rowley. We love having you on. You look very smart. Now, listen, don't drink too much tonight, because it's Kemi's exciting speech tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and I want you on best behaviour, OK?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, I will.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Great to have you on. We'll get you on later in the week. Charlie Rowley, former Conservative Special Advisor. You can almost feel, in the way he speaks, the frustration as a true Tory, that it's just... seemingly for many a lost cause. 9 minutes to 6. We've got to do the sport. She's going to push the button in a minute. We've got loads to get on. We'll get your calls on as well. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. I'm coming back in 3.
I'm trying to stop my husband because he understands that his only two siblings just disappeared right now. He has no idea where they are. He's with the car keys, and I'm at the door crying, saying, please don't drive there, because if you'll go, you'll never come back.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still stuck at that moment 2 years ago, and I believe that until the last hostage will be back home, we won't be able to move on from that day.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, it's 5 to 6. Can you push the bloody button, please?
Sports news from The Sun.
Excellent, 5 to 6. We're delighted to welcome Phil. Is it Cadden or Caden?
Cadden.
Cadden. Night sports editor at The Sun. Oh yeah, what does that mean? Stay up all night or what?
Sort of. Just follow the live sport.
Right, and now I don't want to upset you because we haven't done it together before, as the actress said to the Bishop, but you are indeed a Manchester United fan.
That's
now,
correct.
Ryan and I support terrible football teams. He's at Watford. They've just won 3 games and sacked their manager. That's their 38th manager this year. West Ham are bottom of the Premier League, and Mark Wogan's dyed his hair. But Manchester United, would you just give me an overview? That was interesting.
I don't think anyone can complain from my generation of what I've seen through my life. So, you know, we'll take a little bit of criticism now.
Is Amarin to go or stay, buddy? Because to me, it's...
I think he'll eventually go. I think we're going round in circles at the moment. I think, you know, one good result, then a few bad results, average performances, Liverpool next. You know, we'll probably be in the same position in about 3 weeks' time, probably into the next international break.
Is it still, though, very quickly, I know loads of talk, is it always following a genius like Ferguson? Nobody's made it work since then, have they?
Well, what's interesting about United is that they've
Not very much.
2 amazing managers in history, and Sir Matt Busby,
yeah,
and also Sir Alex Ferguson. The periods in between that, not really too much success.
Got to keep the faith. I want to pick up this story. Stephen Gerrard, Sun Tomorrow, says he would never have left Liverpool like Trent Alexander-Arnold. He said he resisted Real Madrid offers, citing his deep love and connection to his hometown club, Liverpool.
Yeah, so there was Real Madrid, but there was also Chelsea, if you remember, in 2005. He basically handed in a transfer request after winning the European Cup. Now, I think he's missing a little bit here, isn't he? Because, like, on the one hand, he's saying, don't quit like I did, or potentially was going to, but he doesn't address the Chelsea, the Real Madrid links himself. Why did he make the U-turn back then? Was it money? Was it a new contract? Surely anyone can see that if Real Madrid come calling, you go.
I think, I call him Terence Trent D'Arby because it's easy. I think everybody would go to Real Madrid.
Absolutely.
And he was there as a kid and he wanted a new challenge. Gerrard's in danger, though, isn't he? I mean, they're talking about a potential return to Rangers for Stephen Gerrard. Didn't work out at Aston Villa. Didn't work out in Saudi Arabia. Interesting. And then you look at Frank Lampard. It really plays for Frankie Lampard, doing a great job at Coventry in the Championship, and I think he's got the potential. But Gerrard trying to stay, I don't know, trying to stay in the news. Does he get the Rangers job, do you reckon?
I think he's got a good chance. I think you were talking about yesterday that, you know, he could go back up there a bit like Brendan Rodgers and sort of try and reinvent himself. It's interesting today in this interview he says he's got unfinished business in management, and he seems to have talked that the first job that he had at Rangers, it was the perfect match for him, so maybe he's already planting the seed.
Interesting. Arsenal to consider a move to Wembley. Oh, Jesus. We're going to never hear the end of it from Piers Morgan. They're top of the Premier League. If they revamp the Emirates. I thought the Emirates was a new stadium. Why do they want to revamp it?
It was 20 years ago, mind, wasn't it?
All right, well, I'm quite old.
This will interest
How old
you.
Are you?
41.
Great. Crack on.
I think you'll be interested in this because obviously it brings in West Ham.
Oh, dig.
So, well, it's not it's actually a positive.
Oh, is it? Something positive about West Ham?
62,500 seater stadium at the London Stadium at the moment. Second biggest in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So would you be...
Great, we've got the second biggest stadium in the world team.
Would you be happy if Arsenal...
I don't like the
went
London
above you?
Stadium, man. I can't be that far away. I can't have it. I've done everything about West Ham is no good. Listen, Arsenal, we can talk about the stadium, but let's talk very quickly. Only got a minute. They let the real deal this season for some reason. I think their transfer business was spectacular.
I think this is the year if they are ever going to do it. I mean, you look.
I agree with you.
You look at the last few weeks where they've had injuries to Saka and Odegaard. Last season it was seen as we've got no chance of winning the title. This year, who have they got? They've got Eze, they've got Martinelli, Trossard. I've probably missed one or two others, but everyone's chipping in. And no one's really had them to
Manduaki, how'd you pay 35 million that Chelsea wanted rid? Ridiculous. I think it probably, I hate to say it because Morgan will go on and on about it. I think it could be. And also, if you look at that, I know it'll be really quick. Arteta has to win a trophy, doesn't he?
He has to, because he's been there 5 years, won FA Cup. I mean, if he doesn't win a trophy this season, I think that'll probably be time up for him.
Phil Cadden, night news editor of The Sun. Sun Sport is the only place to get all your sports in tomorrow. Big exclusives all over the place. And do you write any of it, or do you just make all the decisions because you're the night news editor?
I cover a bit of Wales.
You unlucky person. Phil Cadden from The Sun. Top man. You can do it again. 0344 499 1000 for your calls. News at 6 is next on Drive.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm just going to share. I did cut the music. You see, the thing is, on this station, there's no
fake news.
No, there's no fake news. What I love about it is I wish we could actually play out what happens sometimes during the ad breaks. Mike Graham, the legend that is Mike Graham, walks into the studio, can't come on tonight, heading out for an important business drink with an unnamed person in tow. So I said to the unnamed person, as one would, I'm not going to mention it, it would be unprofessional of me. I said to him, "No, are you going for a drink?" And he went, "No, I'm going to my Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, which I go to every Tuesday at 6:15. And I went, "Why?" And he went, "Because I'm a freaking alcoholic. That's why I've been going for years." Brilliant. Well done, Jeremy Kyle. Good luck at your Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And Michael, good luck on the wine. Brilliant. Thank you. There you are. Live and exclusive on Talk Drive. 0344 419 1000. Text to 87222. I'm going to get straight to it. I don't need to introduce the next segment. The man is a legend. He's also probably one of the more honest Tories I've ever met in my life. It's a pleasure to know him. He's in the middle of writing his autobiography. He's got to chapter 38,000 and I'm still not in it. Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker. Where... Bloody hell, man, you look like you're in a prison cell. Where are you today? What the hell? Where are you?
I'm in Athens. And to be honest, I only got into my room about half an hour ago, so...
Can I tell you from this angle, right? And Ryan is going to push the dump button. You look like you're in one of those specially adapted toilets where you've got two red coils. If you can see, they look like... If you pull that, you know, Dougie will come running. What's wrong, Mr. Evans? What's wrong? It's brilliant. Anyway, Nigel Evans, why are you in Athens, man? Is it just to be the furthest away from Manchester?
It's a long story, but I'm travelling a bit over the next few days. So, and I love Athens. It really is a lovely city.
Lovely to have you on. Let's cut straight to the chase. Tory party conference in Manchester. Kemi Badenoch, a raft of policies. You've talked very honestly on this show about your frustration that it's taken so long. The attack seems to be that Farage's reform, predominantly it's all about back of the fag packet politics. It's all about sound bites. The Tories have spent 15 months being due diligent, if you like, and doing their work, and now, you know, they're out saying we're leaving the ECHR. Robert Jenrick today saying activist judges, they've got to go, we've got to control all of that. Just being honest with you, two responses from hundreds of people. One is, why didn't you do any of that while you were in power then? And secondly, we haven't heard jack from you for 15 months. You're only repeating what Nigel Farage has been spouting for months. There's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. The second bit is a fair point. The first bit is they didn't do it because they weren't, she wasn't leader of the party, right? So I can understand that she's taken a bit of time. I think she's taken too long a time to review the policies. And of course, as you know, Jeremy, we've got some people on the left of the party. You've got people like Tobias Ellwood, for instance, who's already saying how unhappy he is at this particular announcement. And quite frankly, if that is so critical to Tobias, then, clearly he should look to go somewhere else. I find it quite remarkable, to be honest, that over the past 15 months or so, what we've seen is a number of people jumping from the Tory party to Reform, but I'm still waiting for people to jump from the Tory party to the Liberal Democrats, because, quite clearly, some of them are not going to be happy with these policy announcements that Kemi has been making.
Is it a poison chalice, in all seriousness, Nigel? You were there for 30 years. I'm old enough to remember 97 and Maastricht and Major, and I mean him calling the pro-Europeans wets. I remember how it just drove a wedge between the Tory party. In fact, since Maastricht, in my humble opinion, nobody's been able to really control it. And, Cameron had the coalition with the Liberal Democrats. I don't know. Is it a party where you can come in and stamp your authority? The last person who did was obviously Thatcher. It's just that any leader seems to be stuck between the rock and a hard place. Would that be a fair sort of analysis, my friend?
It's right. We don't know exactly where it's going to go. It could go in a number of directions, and I like the analogy with Margaret Thatcher. We're celebrating her 100th anniversary of her birth on Monday. I'll be in the Guildhall at a big dinner celebrating that. And I think there are a lot of similarities between Kemi and Margaret Thatcher. And of course, Kemi is drawing it on herself to say that you've got to remember that when Margaret took over from Teddy, she wasn't universally welcome. There were a number of snobs in the Tory party who didn't like the grocer's daughter taking over, and it was a woman, right? All of that. So she fought all of that, and then she'll go down in history as one of the greatest prime ministers that we ever have had. The unknown with Kemi is, will she be given that opportunity? And we just simply do not know. Yeah. I really like some of the announcements that she's made, that Jenrick has made. Chris Philp is rising to the challenge as well. But, and this is where we don't know exactly where it's going, is will the electorate out there give them the opportunity? Will they want to say, all right, let's give you what you are different? I mean, the similarity between, you mentioned John Major, and I think Rishi Sunak was where John Major was, right? He took over, if you recall.
Rishi Sunak didn't sleep with Edwina Curry, though, did he?
But he took over.
That's still the one little political thing that leaves a little bit of sick in my mouth. I'm just being completely honest now.
I know,
what I mean?
know.
Yeah.
But we went through 5 years of misery with John because he could never, ever unite the party.
Yeah.
And the one thing that John didn't have, which Kemi does have, is a party on the right, which is now attracting a lot of support.
Yep.
So there are so many unknowns out there. There really are. As I say, I like what Kemi's doing, but we'll just have to now see over the next 3-4 weeks whether the dial's going to move.
Do you think it will? Do you think it will? Do you think it will?
I don't know is the answer. I really don't know. And if it doesn't move, my prediction will be that, of course, the party will get very nervous.
I'll tell you what I think will happen. We're friends. I think that the party will do what the party has always done. I think they'll turn to somebody like James Cleverly in the centre, who today has said, I will never serve in a party with Farage. It will be a balancing act. And to me, it's about optics, and also life is very much, whether it's football, television, radio, politics, it's about timing. Comedy, timing. Everything's about timing. And I feel like the British people are saying to the Tories, you just got to serve a bit of time. You got to serve a bit of time. You got to serve some penance, to be honest. Sorry, I personally feel like the country's going to say, whatever you say to us, you can bugger off for 10 years.
Yeah,
is how I see it.
That may be Kemi's problem. That you have to remember when William Hague took over the leadership, and William was very good. You know, come with me and I'll give you back your country and all that sort of stuff. It was really good stuff. People weren't interested. They had to wait a period before they were prepared to let the Tories back in. And so we just simply do not know. I know that, the strategy for the Conservatives, from what I can see, prior to this conference, was waiting for Farage to trip up.
Yep.
Well, personally, I do not think that that is a strategy. And secondly, I don't think he is going to trip up.
Well, listen, there's 3 years and 9 months, and we have to do... You know, I mean, I've had today. I mean, I had a Tory, Sir Alex Shelbrooke, on yesterday, and he was saying, you know, there's time for him to trip up. Maybe that won't happen. I want to get your view on some other stuff, mate. You've been, we love having you on. I got slaughtered last night to a degree on X because I took aim at that pillock, Gary Neville. You know, yes, people went, and you did your show. That's fine, that's true, and I can take all of that. Gary Neville typifies everything I hate about champagne socialism. Those very bald-headed white middle-class men who apparently are divisive and raise the flag and cause all the division in this country are building your bloody office blocks and hotels to make you the money away. And I love opinions that are different to mine, Nigel, but the point is you've insulted the very people that you purport to represent. And loads of people saying yesterday, by the way, it's all part of a big plan. He was going to be the mayor of Manchester and he wants Andy Burnham as the next Prime Minister. But Gary Neville, like, to me, it doesn't work. I hate it. Just give your money to the migrants then and go and live somewhere where there's a migrant hotel, you odious little... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's got a ton of money and he can do exactly that. Put your money where your mouth is, Gary. And do you know what really sticks in my throat as well is, as part of his justification, he said, I love my country. I played football for my country, however many caps he's ever had.
Didn't sing the national anthem, though, did he?
Yeah, but, you know, he's almost likening him taking to the pitch as if it's some sort of sacrifice that he's made. He's made millions out of football. There's no sacrifice whatsoever. He's been paid handsomely. The people who work building his houses or office blocks or whatever it is earn a fraction of what he earns or used to earn in a week. I mean, so don't give me all this rubbish that you love your country, yet at the same time you want to take down the flag.
Can you explain, in your experience, can you explain to a, I don't have an nth of your intelligence. Why are we there? I was trying to say earlier, why are we the only bloody country actually in the Union, apart from the rest of the world? The Welsh, you know, they fly their flag. The Scots, the Irish. Why is it that the Union Jack or the United Jack or the flag of St George, that we seemingly, if we fly it, we're racist, there are connotations. I don't think it's acceptable anymore for Starmer and his ilk to go, it's far right. I don't like the far right, I don't like the far left, right? I don't like any of that. But why can't I be proud of my flag without being called a racist? I don't get it.
So I've always found it a bit odd. I've represented an English constituency for 32 years, and it did see in England, right? So I'm just wondering, yeah, you're right. Being a Welshman, absolutely. 1st of March meant everything to us. In Scotland, St Andrew's Day, absolutely everybody loves it. And yet in England, you're meant to feel as if you are doing something wrong if you want to celebrate St George's Day. I mean, no, why not? Why not fly the flag? I think it's absolutely appalling. But I've got to say, hasn't it changed again, though? Because when was the last time you saw England flags being handed out at a Labour Party conference? It's normally the red flag that they were besotted with.
You know where they came from, don't you? They came from bloody Yvette Cooper's shed. Did you see that nauseating interview? I wish I could show it to you. She went on GMB, obviously, to be interviewed by her husband, Mr. Balls. And she said, oh, we've got flags everywhere. We've got bunting off the sheds and we've got Union Jack plates. And I just thought, it's another example in my mind. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me, phone me. But you can't con the British people anymore. You can't just go from being, you know, you have Labour councils who are actively taking people's flags down, saying that it demonstrates division whilst allowing other flags to be flown. And yet she thinks that by going on a television programme and going, oh, we've got lots of flags in the Balls household, that everybody's saying, did you see those idiot bloody cabinet ministers sat there going, oh, like, oh, look, there's a Union Jack. I don't believe them. And that's, I think, what a lot of people feel about politicians in general, but it's a bigger thing for me. I don't see why I shouldn't be proud of my country. It really pisses me off, to be honest, because it just annoys me that we seem to be the only... We're apologists, Nige. We've been apologists for far too long.
Of course. I suspect some of them had to go on a YouTube video to work out how you wave an England flag, because they've never done it before. You know, it's absolutely stupid. I hope Yvette Cooper didn't let Emily Thornberry hear her say that she had a ton of England flags around her house. I mean, they'll be telling me next Ed Balls has got a white van outside his property. I mean, come on. Yeah, you're right. If I've got an astronaut suit at home and I put it on, it doesn't make me an astronaut, right?
Yes, but you use that for... That's for other things, isn't it? That's for those that's for those parties, Evans. Now, we shouldn't be... I love that, your astronaut suit. Yeah, no, you're right. And I just... Mate, listen to Margaret. This is interesting. She loves you. Love it when Nige is on drive. When is he going to reform? Please ask him, says Margaret in Birmingham.
Well, I voted for Kemi, and I want to see Kemi succeed. I really do. I want to see... It's going to be interesting, Jeremy, to watch what the reaction of a number on the left in the Conservative Party are going to do.
Would you ever go back to the Tory? Would you ever go and stand again?
My plan isn't to do that, to be honest. I was there for 32 years, and I want to just see... I want to see centre-right policies being introduced into my country. And, do you know, some of these people are already saying we shouldn't do a deal with Nigel Farage. Really? It's Nigel Farage who's the one who's going to have the hundreds of seats. And at the moment, the Tories could be down to 40 seats. And so you really ought not to be ruling anything out. If you love your country and you want centre-right policies coming in, then you really do need to unite the right. Otherwise, we could find ourselves in the stupid situation that the Labour Party get re-elected under this current first-past-the-post system with like 32% or 31% of the vote. And we'll have another plethora of left-wing policies being introduced. Is that really what we want?
Interestingly, I've just had breaking news. The UK is in discussions with the European Union, Sir Keir Starmer has just said, after the European bloc announced plans for 50% tariffs threatening Britain's steel industry. That's interesting, isn't it? So the Europeans are going to raise a 50% tariffs against our steel industry. This is the very bloc that we voted to leave, that maybe people have, you know, still got a bad feeling about because it's never been implemented properly. And also, is it not the bloc that Keir Starmer's keen to get on a better footing with, isn't it? Well, that would just prove again that the reasons that many people voted to leave was that, well, you can't trust them. I mean, all of them jumping up and down about Trump. 50% tariffs which could threaten Britain's steel industry.
Yeah, well, I've never trusted them. That's one of the reasons why I campaigned to leave the European Union. It was a protectionist racket. It always has been. Donald Trump got it right. They were created in order to take on the United States of America, and he's called them out, right? They were putting all sorts of tariffs against American cars, and when he finally said, "I'm not taking this anymore," all of a sudden they've had a big wake-up call. What we all ought to be doing in the United States and in Europe and in Britain is trying to go to the lowest level of tariffs and having a free trade as much as we possibly can. I mean, that's what we ought to be doing. We all ought to be working together, but it's ridiculous. I mean, we saw what the Europeans did to us when we had the audacity in a referendum to vote to leave their club. And they ganged up on us. I mean, it was an appalling negotiation that took place. Oh, Michel Barnier, by the way, I don't know if you missed it, Jeremy, he's back in the French National Assembly. He got elected a couple of weeks ago at some sort of by-election. So I know hey, maybe he'll be the next prime minister.
Jesus, they've had more prime ministers than you lot have had leaders. It was extraordinary. I actually would go further, and a lot of people don't agree with me on this. I think that they did take it out on us when we left Brexit, and I actually believe that the immigration issue, which I blame Boris for big time, and Blair, I do, and I completely get that. I think that I mean, the whole giving France £500 million a year for absolutely nothing. I think the Europeans, I wouldn't trust. I mean, I actually like Giorgia Meloni, but the rest of them, I wouldn't give them the time of day. I don't trust them at all. Can we finish on a serious note? I wanted to finish with this. Obviously, today is a massively important day for the Jewish community. October the 7th, the day that saw the biggest single loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. 2 years ago, I was on air. Hamas terrorists killing 1,200 people, 250 hostages, 48 of which still are held. Some we know are dead, others are alive. Did you see that vile video of that woman? Actually, have we got this video? Because if you are tuning in right now, this is a woman we can tell you is called Nadia Yalom, who lives in North London, using scissors to brazenly snip the memorial bands that the Jewish community had tied to railings in honour of the 251 people taken hostage by Hamas terrorists on October the 7th, 2 years ago. Miss Yalom, when confronted, declared the ribbons which were put up on the eve of the second anniversary of the attacks were condoning genocide. I've talked about nothing other than this, Nigel Evans. I'd love your response to this. I'm just going to put it there for you. How did Lucy Connolly go to jail for 3 months and this piece of crap still walking? I can't have it. I cannot have it at all.
No, it's very upsetting to watch that video, to be honest. We all know what yellow ribbons mean. It started in the United States when they had hostages taken, and they're there. It's not to condone genocide. Yeah. It is literally to support the hostages. 1,200 people were killed. As you said, over 200 hostages were taken, and this woman is cutting down ribbons who are put up there by people who are supporting the return of those hostages. I'll just put this out there, Jeremy. Taking hostages in the way that they did is against Article 3 of the Geneva Convention. It is actually a war crime. Yet here you have a woman who's quite prepared to cut down ribbons supporting the return of those hostages. What you are seeing here is not somebody who's just pro-Palestinian. Look, I want to see the Palestinians living side by side with the Israelis. I want to see both communities at peace. But I'm afraid out there you have got some people who want to see the absolute annihilation and obliteration of the Jewish state. And I'm afraid the veneer breaks when you see people like that who, quite frankly, shout from the river to the sea because they want to see the destruction of the Jewish state. And that's another reason why I believe that Keir Starmer got it completely wrong when he recognised Palestine while you still got Hamas in control.
And somebody said to me, about her actually, very briefly, we hear all about hate crime. We hear all about hurty words. Are you telling me that that isn't a hate crime for the families whose parents, daughters, sons, kids have been kept captive for 2 years? That's disgraceful. And yet, and I bring Lucy Connolly up. I don't condone anything that she said. But, you know, there was a guy who works at Times Radio, I think. 6 police officers arrived at his door. We did that story about 3 months ago because he dared on a WhatsApp group to criticise a teacher in the school. And this woman tonight is still free. The reason that she hasn't been arrested is because Starmer will be terrified that if she's arrested, that will send a message to all the people who think that Israel's responsible. I mean, I don't... Look, I've said it, I've been really honest. I don't like what I see in Gaza. I don't like war in any which way. It is the only democratically elected state in the Middle East, Israel, and it is surrounded by terrorist cells funded by the mad mullahs of Tehran. That's an absolute fact. That's not made up. You don't hear that when people jump up and down. But that woman, her behaviour, abhorrent. Abhorrent, Nigel.
Yep. And those who took to the streets following the killing of 2 Jews in Manchester, those who took to the streets today on the very anniversary of 1,200 people being killed and 250 being taken hostage. This isn't just un-British. It's insane. It's inhumane what they're doing. And quite frankly, I am appalled by their actions. As I say, we all want to see the situation in the Middle East improving. We want to see unnecessary dying stopping. But I'm afraid the Palestinians have got to play their part too in the removal of that appalling terrorist organization which they are harboring in Palestine as we speak. Hamas has got to be totally obliterated, Jeremy. Otherwise, I'm afraid the killings are going to carry on, and that appalling deaths that we saw in Manchester. I mean, I've got a friend of mine who's Jewish, and he said to me, you know, Nigel, we train people in the synagogues to act as security guards. We've had to do this in Britain for years now. And I went to his son's bar mitzvah at a synagogue in Manchester, and I know how strong that community is. I know how proud they are. And I support our Jews in Manchester. I support our Jews in the United Kingdom. What they knew this was going to happen. They've been warning for years that they were going to face this sort of attack, and now it's happened. And it's all a little bit Johnny-come-lately, quite frankly.
And you know, such brilliant words. And I'll finish it by saying something that I've always believed, and it's not popular. I find any racism abhorrent. But when we go on about Islamophobia and all the things that we should talk about, anti-Semitism is racism. And the Jewish community, I know many, many Jewish people are saying it's time to leave the United Kingdom because we do not feel safe. Nigel, it is an absolute pleasure. Off to a taverna tonight, are we, in Greece?
Yeah, I think that's
plates.
the Uzo. Little Uzo.
Good man, that's what we like. Have a good one. Lovely to have you on. We'll have you on next week. We love having on Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, 6:25. We're live across the UK. Kev is here. What's he got on the show? We'll find out. He's going to deign us with his presence. We'll have time. Kev is here. We'll do what's in the papers tomorrow in the Sun as well. It's all coming up. This is Talk Drive.
I'm trying to stop my husband because he understands that his only two siblings just disappeared right now. He has no idea where they are. He's with the car keys, and I'm at the door crying, saying, please don't drive there, because if you'll go, you'll never come back.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still stuck at that moment 2 years ago, and I believe that until the last hostage will be back home, we won't be able to move on from that day.
My thoughts are with those people held underground, starved, not afforded one shred of humanity by their captors. Contrast that with idiotic, stupid, perverse students who want to hold commemorative events. And are these events to honour the Jewish people that were slaughtered that day? No. They are not. No. And shame upon each and every person who takes...
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
6:30, Kev here from 7. Tomorrow's papers soon. But next, Middle East correspondent just north of Tel Aviv, Yotam Kafino. Yotam, very good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
It's been a while, my friend. Good to speak to you. Obviously, October the 7th, the day 2 years ago I was on air, I think we spoke actually the biggest single loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust took place, and 1,200, I mean, it was vile and horrible, and hostages still being held, 48 of them. We're not sure how many of them are alive and how many have passed. But we've seen so many outrageous things in the United Kingdom today, and I'll tell you about those in a minute and we can talk about it. But today for the Jewish people, horrifying and difficult, I guess. I saw a great post from a friend of mine, a Jewish friend of mine, who just said, if you can today, just send a text or phone up a Jewish friend. It's a difficult day for many, right?
In every possible way. There are many Jews who maybe don't have such a strong connection to Israel, but it has been impossible for any Jewish person in the West not to be affected by the aftermath of October 7th, the anti-Semitism that was ignited on the back of the killing of Jews. So even if you are not a staunch Israel supporter as a Jewish person, they don't care. They quite literally don't care, the ones that are out to get you. You could even be very sympathetic to the Palestinians, but the fact that you are Jewish and the fact that you believe that Israel has a right to exist, that puts a target on your back. So it is, whether you want it or not, as a Jewish person, a very difficult day. I would say most Jews feel very compassionate, have very compassionate feelings for Israel and what they went through. Of course, in Israel, it's horrific. You know, the traumas are ongoing. The wounds haven't healed whatsoever. There are still hostages inside Gaza. So it is a tremendously difficult day, both for Israelis and for Jews, and frankly for anyone who has any heart and has been following what's been happening the past 2 years.
I couldn't put it better. Somebody said to me the other day, but surely, you know, and I have, as you know, many Jewish friends who tell me that many of them are fearful of staying in the United Kingdom. Many still see their kids abused. I want to say something to you that I just said to somebody else. We quite rightly in this country have always prided ourselves on being anti-racist. There are people who don't like the fact that if we talk about immigration that makes us racist. But I'll tell you what is racist. Anti-Semitism is racism as well, and it's never been clear to me why that is not shouted from the rooftops more. Two really, really unedifying things took place today, which I'm sure you know about in this bloody country of ours. Pro-Palestine students chanting from the river to the sea and accusing Israel of a Holocaust during protests on this very day at university campuses. And I don't know, have you seen this appalling footage of this vile human being cutting down the ribbons? And I mean, I'm embarrassed, I'm embarrassed that this country has this on video. This is... we live in a country now, Yotam, where they talk about hate crime, hurty words. They talk about this woman should have been arrested and thrown into jail. I find this is so awful when you consider the Jewish community. I mean, do you know what she said? She said the ribbons, which were put up on the eve of the second anniversary of the attacks, were condoning genocide. As a Jewish man, could you respond to that? Because I think it's abhorrent.
I can't. First of all, it's not just your country. People like her have been doing the same thing in the United States and Canada. They were drawing swastikas on posters of 1-year-old Kfir Bibas, who was first kidnapped with his mother and his brother, and then he was murdered in cold blood inside Gaza. They were drawing swastikas on his face. So it's not just in the UK, it's quite literally in every Western country that filth like this is on the streets. But you know what? A person like her is so brainwashed, mainly because the media, the mainstream media, have failed in a tremendous manner in giving a fair and nuanced reporting on this war. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that this is, by far, I would say, the most skewed coverage of any war I can remember. I don't remember a war where the party that started the war and committed a massacre ended up being a footnote in the coverage. I'm stunned. So a person like her is, of course, believing that there's a genocide in Gaza because every media outlet in the world has cited every ridiculous either expert or institution's conclusions about genocide. And instead of reporting all the other genocide scholars who said the exact opposite, they just ignore it. You know, you don't hear about scholars, genocide scholars, who say there isn't a genocide, which there are many of. So a person like her, in her very little defense that she has, if she has, let's say, 1 or 2 mainstream media that she watches, I don't blame her for thinking that there's a genocide, because all they report is that Israel is basically the devil inside Gaza, and Hamas is not really a part of the war.
You make such a salient point. I mean, I said to somebody some time ago and met with great derision, I was brought up to believe that you don't negotiate with terrorists, and the picture you painted there, that at the 2 years in, that the perpetrators of that appalling massacre are somehow lauded. I mean, you know, when Starmer, our idiot Prime Minister, decided that it would be a good idea to recognise Palestine. Listen, I'm not against anybody at some point having the right to do whatever, but the Palestinians need to also do something about getting rid of a terrorist organisation that has spent all the money not improving their lives but building tunnels to hide their weapons and underneath people's houses and hospitals. I'm fervently on the Jewish side, and I make no apology for that, and I'll be slaughtered online. I don't give a toss, right? I don't like what I see in Gaza any more than you do, okay? But I absolutely stand with my Jewish friends and say I find it abhorrent that we jump up and down in this country. Be really, really careful here about, oh, that's racist. You've said some hurt. This is Islamophobic. This is... Nobody puts in the same context anti-Semitism, and it is absolutely disgusting. And today, that woman should have been rounded up, and those stupid students who don't even know when their birthdays are just jump on a bandwagon that, as you quite rightly said, is fed by the mainstream media. Not something you'll find on this station, though, Yotam, that's for sure.
I agree. I would also say that one of the things that disappointed me the most is the lingo used by the media. To this day, when you go on any major network, I'm not sure about talkTV, but let's say New York Times, BBC, any other network, they refer to Hamas as militants.
No, it's terrorist organization.
How much does it take for you to recognize someone being a terrorist other than your country has designated that group as a terror group? Let's start with that. But how many atrocities do you have to do in order for a media to say, all right, maybe we should call them terrorists? Because
the BBC to this day, Yotam, will not call it a terrorist organisation because they are so... We have a situation in this country. We've got loads of bloody situations in this country where our very own government is too scared to call people out for fear of losing votes. I think, look, this is more personal to me than many other things, and we all have opinions. And I welcome different... I'm not... people can have different opinions, but that woman is the living example, the embodiment of everything I loathe about this conflict. I don't like what's happening in Gaza, but how she can do that when there are people, loved ones, still being held hostage is vile, in my humble opinion. But of course, nothing will be done because it's the same as we had that dreadful terrorist action. I mean, can you believe that guy that killed those Jewish people at the synagogue the other day was called Jihad? You couldn't make it up, could you? And yet, an hour later, they allowed a Palestine action march to take place three hours later, and you've got these students waving their flags, right? I don't think they even know where Palestine, Israel, the Middle East is, and they jump on the bandwagon. And maybe that's fueled by the mainstream media, maybe it's fueled by ignorance, but you should remember, especially on this day, they should remember, or they should be told, or they should be forced to understand, this was people's lives that were taken and families were ripped apart. 1,200 people, and I'm not going, as you're not going to, in some of the details, but what was done to some of those victims was some of the vilest crimes ever, I would assume. Worse than, not as worse, but very much as has happened in past horrendous wars, and that's going to leave an impact with the Jewish community, isn't it? Oh, bless him, he's frozen. So good to have him on. Honestly, we spoke to him 2 years ago on this day, Yotam Kafino, Middle East correspondent, just saying there, the Jewish community has had a very hard time. We live in a country where we seem to want to make sure that everybody's okay. If you got Jewish friends, Jewish neighbours tonight, it might be nice to go and say hello or send them a message, I don't know. That doesn't mean I support everything that Netanyahu does. It doesn't mean I like what happens in Gaza. It means I can think about a country that had millions gassed to death because apparently they shouldn't be on this earth, sort of recovered and built a life for themselves, and then 1,200 of them were massacred in the most vile way. If that happened in our country, I would very much hope that we would do anything to right that wrong. 20 to 7.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
It's back tomorrow from the Housewives' Choice, well, my wife's choice, to be honest. Pete in Lincolnshire, great show. Is the woman carrying the offensive weapon in public cutting the ribbons or any sort of benefits? She probably is on benefits, yeah. It's an offensive weapon. Sorry, that piece, she should have been arrested, but she won't, Peter Bryan. Thank you, Ali. If the EU say 50% tariff on our steel, then it's easy. No more fishing in our waters immediately. You can't... Yes, well, we won't do that, will we? Johnny Reimer. With what? See? Jeremy, whatever you think about the Union flag, it's the only flag you could debate. The American flag is similar. What? Oh, yes, no, I agree. It does unite countries. 17 minutes to 7. The hearts of the women across the nation start to flutter in because he's back. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you John Lucas, night news editor of The Sun, known as Sarge. I was out with one of your bosses at lunchtime today. You're very well thought of, aren't you?
Well, I hope so. I don't know what he said.
Ka-ching! Headline. This is brilliant. This even got me looking at this. Millions of drivers are going to get 700 quid in car finance payouts as the financial watchdog, I'm dribbling at the thought of 700 quid, unveiled the details of a major redress scheme. Tell me more.
Yes, good news. Normally we start with something bad.
Yes.
This is good
Ka-ching!
news.
Do you see what they've done there? Ka-ching, never mind.
Millions of people. This affects about 14 million car finance agreements. I think it goes back to 2004.
Is this
like
every finance agreement you've had on a car?
It won't be every one. It'll be those ones where, essentially, what it is the I won't use the word kickback, although I have already. It's where the dealership, the dealership was earning.
We won't use one word.
Was earning some,
kick and back. He's a journalist. Crack on, yeah.
The dealership was earning some commission from the lenders, so they're saying, "No, take this finance deal. It's great."
Yeah.
But they weren't telling you that they were getting a slice of that money.
Motor finance companies face an £8.2 billion payout.
Yeah. So it's a big... it's gone all the way through the courts because they've fought it.
Do you have to apply for this?
You have to apply, but it's very simple. There's lots of companies out there offering to help you do it, and that's fine.
What, no win, no fee?
That sort of thing. You'll pay them a little fee for it. Or you can go on the FCA website and that will tell you...
Are you applying?
Exactly, yeah. I and some of my colleagues have already had claims in for years on it. It's like PPI.
But I've bought loads of... I bought loads of cars over the years.
Yeah, well, if you had it on a finance agreement, chances are...
What is that? Oh, yeah.
You probably owed a bit
Why
of
are you
money.
looking... See, Ryan's looking at me going, well, you just pay cash, won't you? Well, no, I didn't buy all of them outright, no.
Well, one of our colleagues has got 5 claims in. And we figured out, so he's getting... If it works, he'll get £3.5 grand.
Right, can I just point something out that you've just gone? Is every night's a gem from Johnny Lucas. He's just gone, you know, we've worked it out, right? It's 700 quid a claim, and he's put in for 5, so he's going to get £3,500, and we go, God, you're good at maths, you are. No wonder you're a great journalist. Bring him home. Talk to me. This is great.
Yeah, well, look, it's the... we spoke about this yesterday. We've been speaking about it all day, I'm sure. The anniversary of the October 7th attack in Israel.
Absolutely.
Huge commemorative events across the world, particularly in Israel. We've had our foreign editor, Nick Parker's been over there, and he's kept in touch with a lot of the hostage families. And if you remember Emily Hand...
I do.
Father is a sort of Dublin-born, lived in Britain for a long time as well.
She was virtually mute when she came out, wasn't she? She couldn't speak. And the interesting thing about the story, she's made an astonishing recovery. She's 11, and her dad told yesterday how she was found the courage to speak on stage to plead for a peace deal to free the captives. That's
so she was 8 when she was taken. She's held at knife point, and the Hamas kidnappers say you must stay silent. So she's remained silent all practically for 50 days. So when she's come out, obviously that age, she's not been able to comprehend really what's happened to her, or when she's, is she now safe? That's absolutely heartbreaking.
Can I just say to that, that woman, no, she wouldn't be listening, would she? But that woman with the ribbons today, this is what I mean.
Well, that is the point, and that is the point why people are so angry.
Know, do you? You just honestly, they go river to the sea. An 8-year-old at knife point, mute.
Yeah, I mean,
for 2 years.
It's a completely inappropriate day for that sort of stuff. Yeah. And anyway, the point is, she was able to get up on stage. She delivered an address, mostly in Hebrew, but at the end, she switches to English and she says, "Bring them home," and that's a message to us in the West and our political leaders.
Brilliant work. A migrant hotel firm headed by an asylum king billionaire has banked £187 million in profits since being awarded lucrative government contracts. Clear Springs Ready Homes, founded by Essex tycoon Graham King, is one of 3 companies which signed a 10-year deal with the Home Office to provide accommodation for asylum seekers.
Yeah, well, there's winners and losers to every situation, and this chap is one of the big winners. Graham King runs Clear Springs Homes. Latest account, so it's 186,900,000. It's huge.
The contract,
huge
which
figure.
runs till September 20, is estimated to be worth a staggering £7.3 billion.
7.3 billion. He himself, Mr. King, has become a billionaire off the back of his business. So he's just tipped over £1 billion. He got on the Sunday Times rich list, 154th on there. It's not bad. He's got.
Not bad. 153rd would have been better.
He's got a younger Latvian. There's nothing wrong with that. Latvian girlfriend called Lolita Lace.
Sorry,
Lolita Lace.
Let's just go Lolita Lace. Let's go back to Peter Crouch. They asked Peter Crouch, 6'4", not the best looking bloke, top man by the way. What would you be if you hadn't been a footballer? And do you remember what he said?
Yeah,
he said a virgin. I'm not saying that Lolita Lace is with him. Have you seen that photograph of the American billionaire with the really weird fringe who owns the... Have you seen that, Ryan? He owns an American football company and his girlfriend's 22 with every asset known to an OnlyFans model. And he said, no, honestly, she loves me for my looks. Have you seen that? Wake up, son. Good. How do we feel about a man making that much money about it all? I don't know.
Well, I mean, ultimately, look, he's... you know, he's made profit. It's legitimate business, but ultimately it's taxpayers' money. It's coming from the government, so you know he's not at fault himself.
No.
But it's the taxpayer that's basically pushed this guy onto the rich list. So.
This made the news from Talk. This was a great piece of work by Mikey and by Ricky and by Christian and the whole team. A hapless bus driver was sacked for wearing a Liverpool shirt after hundreds of Chelsea fans swarmed his bus, causing significant disruption. This is brilliant, by the way.
Well, this is, as you say, it was a Talk story originally.
Now you're using us for our stories.
We're going to stuff it in our paper anyway.
Yeah.
We've gone and we've spoken to this guy and we've got him pictures.
Just tell them the story because this is brilliant.
Isaac. So this is Isaac. He's a bus driver. He was doing a rail replacement service. On Saturday. Massive lifelong Liverpool fan. His route happens to take him past a whole bunch of Chelsea fans, and you may have seen it. It went viral. The fans are all surrounding the bus, giving him loads of grief because he's
got a Liverpool shirt.
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Banging the windows, went viral. Well, you think, poor bus driver.
Yeah.
He woke up Monday morning. Bus company have sacked him. They say it's all your fault. You wore that shirt, and you've caused disruptions and delays. And I can smell an employment tribunal coming here because he's saying, I got up in the morning. The first clean shirt I had just happened to be my Liverpool shirt, so I stuck it on. I didn't know exactly the route.
Well, you should do your washing more often, but no, I mean it's ludicrous, man. We tried. I know that the company. I know Ricky tried to get hold of the bus company. It was all very interesting. They're not playing ball at all. It's outrageous.
Yeah,
It's like us firing you because you're wearing a pink tie.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't do that because it shows that you're very sure of your sexuality.
Exactly.
So Euler, Isaac Euler, 21, lifelong, was wearing his team shirt, was driving a rail replacement bus. It went past the Chelsea ground, and the Chelsea fans celebrating a 2-1 victory over Scousers at Stamford Bridge surrounded him, chanting and banging on the bus front window.
Yeah, and now he's got the boot. Poor guy.
Now we've become a sit-down comedian. So you reckon he's going to a hapless... no, what? He's going to a tribunal?
Employment tribunal, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah, they're good things. So tomorrow in the brilliant Current Bun, charging, or carching even, investigate it because you could be getting 700 quid. And if you've had 5 cars like a colleague... Do you imagine you had 5 cars? Do you know how much money you'd make?
3.5 grand. 3.5 grand.
That great story about Emily Hand, taken as a hostage by Hamas 2 years ago. She was told to keep quiet and was mute, has recovered enough to stand on stage and plead for peace. Great. Graham King, the billionaire who's banked a contract worth $7.3 billion to house migrants, and the hapless bus driver sacked for wearing a Liverpool shirt. It is the best paper in the world, and we love you. You here tomorrow?
Off tomorrow.
Are you here on Thursday?
Yes.
I'm here on Thursday.
Oh, great.
We'll see.
Right.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Very great. Look forward to seeing you then. John Lucas on the Sun. Bye tomorrow. It's the nicest newspaper. Bye. Thanks.
in any...
Still wearing the shirt today, though, so obviously it hasn't traumatised you too much.
No, it hasn't traumatised me at all, to be honest. I saw the funny side of it when I was watching the videos, but when I was sitting in that cabin, at that time it wasn't so funny. Like, I was holding the window shut because the window on the driver's side is meant to lock from the inside,
right,
but it didn't. So I was literally holding it shut. You can see on the video there, I'm talking to someone who's opened it from the outside,
right,
briefly, and then I'm holding it shut afterwards.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Thank you so much, Steve, for your calls today. Thank you to the A-team. Stella Bandit, thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Amy. Amy's been back, by the way. Baldy Dave, not here. He's in rehab. Ryan's here, and Jana's here. My favourite. I said it right, didn't I? I said it. 0344 419 1000. Kev is here at 7. To the phone lines, we're going to Bedfordshire. Liam, you've got 2 minutes on Talk Drive. Good evening, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Jeremy. My point is around... Look, I've lived in and around Bedfordshire for all of my life.
Yes.
I'm now in my 50s. I've got really good Muslim friends, good Jewish friends as well.
Yes.
I think people of influence, they are the people that are going to solve this problem. It's not the extremists on either side, because there are. It's the people in the middle that have to make a change. So I've not seen much noise in any media, to be fair, around imams coming out and saying what happened last week in Manchester was hideous. I don't see celebrities coming out. I don't see people that can influence that middle stream, because if you think about society, you're always going to have 5-10% at either end. The rest of us have to stand up, and I think that's what the Unite the Colours was all about, putting flags up to say we are all British, we are all English, Scottish.
Do you know what? I have to say I couldn't agree with you more. And whenever we have a... I, like you, have got many Muslim friends, but I always want to say, if you feel this is going on and there are bad things that are impacting on your argument, you should call it out. I saw something online today about that vile human being that cut down those ribbons. Why isn't somebody who supports Palestine coming out and saying her actions are completely and utterly deplorable? Listen, I got to move. Liam, great call in Bedfordshire. He's pouting, he's frowning, he's breathing heavily. He's Kev O'Sullivan. How are you?
Breathing heavily, indeed. Interesting development. 2 arson attacks, 2 attempted arson attacks in the slipstream in the wake of the synagogue horror. Both
West Sussex the other day. Or
one
East
was
Sussex.
in Peacehaven in West Sussex,
yes,
and the other was in Kettering. Now, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood put out a thing after this saying, you know, let's important for tensions not to rise. You know, the obvious implication being that these are retaliation attacks. A man has been charged in Kettering who is a British Asian man, a Muslim. Which is interesting. I mean, we can't really say too much about it, but what it proves is, in these circumstances, don't jump to conclusions. It's very important not to jump to hysterical.
And presumably that's a legal case as well.
Well,
so
yeah, I mean, he's
careful.
only charged. What I'm saying is that everybody, you know what everybody assumed? These are retaliation attacks. Well, in Kettering, we now know that the man who has been charged is a British Muslim.
I hope you're going to, on this October the 7th day, and I've only got a minute, that vile human being that thought it was all right to